A blade spins in the air against the backdrop of a full moon. The guy is screaming in pain. A man screams in pain as he is pierced by a glowing sword. Jin says he can't die. The man laughs and says that it was said that Jin is the head of the Songwu clan, but he only uses the martial arts of Qing Chen and Dianzheng, and asks if he has forgotten the famous 13 swords of Songwu. Demon Lutong reports that everything depends only on the guy who inherited the mentioned combat technique. Jin says he didn't expect anything better from the bastards of the Soaring Dragon Corps. The man reports that the disgusting bastard is killing his own people. He says, "What about the boy?" Jin says it looks like he made the right choice. A group of people announce that the child will be killed as brutally as the others, and that he is the last patriarch of the Songwu clan, Jin. This is the Sunwu clan, Sunwu Yonya. Jin explains that he is not afraid of death and is ready to fight to the end. He says that he feels sorry for the squad leader and that it seems that he will not be able to be like him. The man asks Jin if he is worried about himself again. He says he's always said that, but that's enough, and that Jin did a good job. He also says he's not responsible for the results and advises him to keep his head up. Jin says the leader said that if you don't give up until the end, you haven't lost, even if you've been defeated. He says he'll do everything in his power until the very end. He says that if he gets captured, he will just become another one of Dutong's puppets, and then one day, Dutong will force the squad leader to do what he forced him to do, so he can't let that happen. Jin says that if he has to die, he will die of his own free will. The man says he doesn't understand what Jin is planning. Jin says that they could kill him, but they won't break his spirit. He won't let this go and will finish what he started when he becomes a ghost. The man shouts, "No," and calls Jin a bastard. Jin's eyes begin to close. Jin says that he wishes he had put more effort into his life, that he shouldn't have constantly shied away from studying because he didn't want to conflict with his brothers, and that he wishes he could have realized more of his potential. Someone calls out, "Hey, bastard!" Jin recognizes the voice. A man shouts at Jin and asks if he wants to say something. Jin reveals that he can't remember who he is. Jin is sitting on his knees, and a respectable man is standing in front of him. He sees Patriarch Songwu Jung and asks if it's a dream, and says that he hasn't seen his father since that day 10 years ago. Jin says, "Father." Jin calls him. He repeats the word father over and over again. A man asks Jin if he will confess to killing his future brother-in-law. Jin is surprised and says, "Did he really kill Dan Hassan?" Jin says he was his only friend, but he died more than 10 years ago. He says it was pure chaos because they had drunk so much that day, but he had neither the motive nor the opportunity to kill him. Jin says he really went back to the day he was accused of killing his best friend. Jin says he doesn't remember. Father says it's a fool to think that's an acceptable answer. Songwu Song, Songwu Hyuk, and Songwu Chi, the sons of Songwu Su of the Songwu clan, say that he must repent to the head of the Dan clan and ask if he should kill Jin and send his corpse to the head of the clan. The guy suggests crippling him and then sending him to them so they can take out their grief on him, but the brother says they can just kick him out and then they'll take care of it themselves. The woman says that you can send him to the front lines and send your son in a direct line. The woman says that he will die anyway and suggests taking advantage of this. The man says the boys won't have to go to war. The battlefield of the demon cult refers to the border where they fought against the blood demon cult that had captured Yunnan. 10 years ago, the Murim Alliance and the Blood Demon cult entered into a war that was the Great War of the Orthodox and the Blood Demons. The Murim Alliance had difficulty stopping the spread of the Blood cult in Zhongyuan, but they were powerless against Yunnan. They subsequently gathered martial artists near Yunnan to monitor the Blood Demon cult. This became the Blood Demon cult's great battlefield. The man explains that these are all past rumors that barely maintain combat order, forcing children of direct descent from various martial clans and sects to join them. He explains that he shouldn't have been chosen because he's not strong in martial arts. Jin says that there is probably no better outcome for them and suggests that one of them planned this whole thing. He reports that his father decided to send him to the battlefield and, according to his recollections, came to the same conclusion when Jin was 21 years old. A man reports that 2 people came to him this evening. Jin says that this time he needs to know the truth. The woman asks if he's okay. She's from the Sunwu clan, Sunwu Yonha. Jin says she's fine and asks how she's doing. She tells him she's fine. She says she simply believes he's innocent. Jin explains that he was simply crying and thanking her for believing him last time and confirms that she's right, he's not guilty. The girl says she is surprised. The girl says she was just curious why Jin was so confident, and Jin explains that he has no reason to kill his only friend and male fiancé. Jin reports that they were sitting opposite each other and the sword he didn't take with him was stabbed into his back. The girl says that it is clear, but there is a but. Jin reports that he thought it would be better to just head to the battlefield. As a child, he lost his mother early and was unable to receive support from his family, so he was forced to survive alone. Jin reveals that he was called a genius because of his excellent memory, but he had to play dumb to survive. The man says that this act ate away at him from the inside, and by the time he realized this, it was already too late. Jin says he was an idiot who only giggled even when he was called a disgrace to the family, and to change, he has to leave. The man says he will meet whoever ends up on the battlefield and explains that his role model is the berserker, the soaring dragon of Buri Sol Pan. The man notices that Yeonhee's behavior has changed and asks what it is. Jin says she consoled him back then. Jin in thought. The guy says he can't take it anymore and asks to stop. Jin says, "Father." Jin says that his father also seems different than he did back then and asks if it's because he acts differently. He reports that he then saw how they begged him to let him out, and sighing, he left. A man asks if he was really framed. He says that his father eavesdropped on his conversation with Yeonha and asks if that means he did the same in the past. The father says that he knew the other was pretending to be stupid and says that he didn't know about the desire to leave home, adding that if he had known earlier. The man apologizes to Jin for ruining his life. Jin says, "What the hell?" He says his father barely paid attention to him, and it didn't matter how much his brothers or their mothers bullied him. Jin says that now that he thinks about it, he explains that the maternal families have always had great influence on the Songwoo clan, and even his father, as the head of the family, had to compromise with them. He explains that perhaps his father benefited from neglecting him, since his mother's family did not support him. Father asks if there is anything Jin would like to ask him for. He says that they couldn't let him into the patriarch's library at least once. Father asks if it's just for one day. Jin reveals that he's not even familiar with the clan's martial arts. He says he wants to learn a little before heading out onto the battlefield. Jin reveals that in his past life, he accidentally became a patriarch, but knew nothing about the clan's martial arts. The man reveals that this forced him to steal martial arts from others, and explains that if he can learn the 13 swords of Seonwoo, he will be able to achieve much more in this life. Jin says he wants to learn martial arts from a book in just one day. The man says he thinks it's better than nothing. Father says he can afford it. Jin says it's great though. The man says that it is too dangerous to learn the cultivation technique on your own, and he will teach it himself, then tells you to sit correctly. Jin speaks well. Father says that what he teaches is the art of the highest primordial unity. He says to remember what he will repeat from now on, and tells that at the beginning of time there was yin, yang, and chaos. The guy says that the art of the highest primordial unity is taught only to the patriarch and his heir. Jin says he should be happy about this, but he has a strange feeling. Jin feels something but doesn't understand what exactly. Jin says he doesn't understand what this feeling is. The man says it's ridiculous to let this bastard into the library and asks his father to reconsider his decision. The man says that if this continues, it will ruin their image. Father asks not to start this conversation again. He says it's just for a day. Jin says, "Uh-huh." The man asks if it's just for a day. Jin says that's more than enough. He reports that he has memorized martial arts today and explains that he didn't learn them, but simply hammered them into his brain. Jin reveals that he was known as a genius due to his perfect memory and even survived on the battlefield by using his memory to reproduce the martial arts of his comrades. He later reports that Sol Pan called his ability to remember a photographic memory. Jin reports that everything he sees here remains in his memory, even today. Jin says he'll make sure none of this goes to waste. He says that first one must begin with the art of the supreme primordial unity, which he learned from his father, and the 13 swords of Songwoo, the secret art of their clan. Jin says he feels like he's going to die soon and can't take it anymore. He says he's got it all in his head, but he has no idea what Sunwoo's 13 swords even means. Jin says he needs to get some fresh air first. He says he's dying. Jin says he can't understand why his body has changed so much and explains that he feels strange and out of place. He says that he still won't be able to understand most of it even if he memorized it, and asks if he can stop there. Jin says it's no wonder such a person would want to study martial arts. The woman says she truly believes the man she's talking to will never be able to shake off his lazy, pig-like behavior. Women laugh at what they heard. They see Jin-Yu and ask who it is. The man says that this is the third brother who has disgraced their clan and explains that he looks more like a pig than a human. The woman says that tomorrow they have to go to the battlefield of the great demon cult. His father gave him time to study, but he is still idle. Jin is called a pig. A woman from the Chagall clan says that Jin isn't worth paying attention to, and that he's really no different from a pig. Another girl reports that he committed crimes at the front, so he's going there to atone for his sins. Jin says that Chagall could be the pinnacle of the heavenly wisdom sword, Chagall Seo Yol, and explains that it is a sword genius who suddenly appeared in the Chagall clan, who had no particular success in martial arts. Jin says that from what he heard, she traveled around many clans to gain experience, and asks if that's why she came to their clan. Jin is sitting, and a man approaches him. The man asks if there is any progress in studying martial arts, and says that since Jin visited the Patriarch's exclusive library, it is worth seeing how far he has progressed. Jin says that one day of martial arts training won't change anything, and explains that he's just trying his best and it's time for him to go back. Brother stabs Jin. He squeezes the other person's hand, causing a bright pink flash of energy to occur. The man says he doesn't understand what's going on. Jin says that he's only in so much pain because he blocked a single blow, and informs him that he needs to do something about this body. The woman and man laugh and say that the boy's punch was blocked by the pig, and ask if his fist is too slow, and also say that after the pig leaves, Jin's brother will have to inherit the title of shame of their clan. The man attacks Jin again. The man attacks Jin, striking him with a series of blows. Jin says he is in pain. He says that he sees his movements for the first time, but they seem familiar, and asks what it is. The man reports that this is certain. The man explains that this is the martial arts of the Songwoo clan while simultaneously striking another man. The man delivers a series of blows, calling it a storm of 13 blows. Jin says, "It's not bad." Brother asks how this is not bad. Jin laughs and says that he misspoke. The man laughs and says that Jin doesn't think the attacks are that bad, and the other man adds that Jin wants more and that he thinks the attacks give him pleasure. Brother screams that he's going to kill Jin, and Jin laughs and says, "Come on." Jin explains that he finally understood the mechanism that he couldn't understand just by looking at the texts, and reveals that these were the movements. Jin explains that the form used now with fast strikes connected with kicks is storm waves. Jin reports that this is not being done properly and orders it to be opened. A man screams in pain as he is hit with a hand surrounded by bright energy. Jin says he wants to play some more. The guy flies away from Jin. The guy says the fat guy is lucky and offers to show off his skills. The man next to him is surprised. Jin says that's crap. Woman says they try to intimidate a tired man when his brother is injured. He says they were just about to take care of their brother. Jin says that it is a shame and that it concerns him too, who was bullied by such idiots. The brothers and girls turn around and slowly walk away. Jin says they're finally gone and tells him he needs to do something about his fat. He reports that he fell asleep. Jin sees his father. He says he was just about to. The man reports that he did a great job. The man says he is proud of Jin. Jin says he can't believe this happened. The father says that of his 4 marriages, only one was his own choice. The man says he thought he did it for the sake of the clan, but now he's not so sure. Jin is listening. His father asks if he has read the text of Sun Wu's 13 swords. Jin replies that he has. He says he's going to do some sword training, something he hasn't done in a while. The man says Jin can rest for a bit and then come back. A man sheathes his sword. Father shows blades. He reports that these are the 13 swords of Songwoo. Jin says that you need to go from the first form to the 13th, then back to the first form, but faster. He realizes that he is showing him the forms of the 13 swords of Songwoo. Jin says it's for him. He is reading a book, sitting on the floor in the room, surrounded by many stacks of books. Jin reports that he has finished reading the diaries of his ancestors, and explains that he believes that they contain some secrets of understanding, but has not yet fully understood them. Jin reports that the forms are difficult to understand. Jin says something is wrong. He says that he feels like one of the covers is much thicker than the other. Jin flips through a book. Jin says that as he thought, there is something here. He says that this seems to be an explanation of the form, and asks if it is called the 14th form. Jin says there is another form on the other side. He reports that this is the 15th. The man says, "Can this be true?" The sound of wind comes from the roof of the building, a woman primping herself while looking in the mirror. The girl says she is tired. Sol Chagall belongs to the Chagall clan, which is the pinnacle of the sword of heavenly wisdom. Sol Chagall is sad for some reason. Her hand is clutching several metal plates, which begin to break and fall. The girl says, if she grows up a little more. Sol says he wants to know something even funnier. The girl says that he tried to show off in front of the lady of the Chagall clan and fainted in front of her. The woman says it's funny. The girl exclaims, Oh my god. The woman says she doesn't understand what was just said and asks if Jin's brother was hurt by his brother. The woman reports that everything is correct. The girl says she can't believe how dare he. After that, she goes into the room. The girl reports that this is information about the third son of the Songwoo clan, as requested, and that it was acquired from the Hao sect nearby. The girl says that she will repay the debt immediately. The woman asks what interested her so much about the chubby guy and explains that she was surprised because she didn't think a man from a martial arts clan could have such a body. The girl replies that it is so, and he chuckles. The woman says that Jin reminds her of the teddy bear that the girl loves and asks if that is why she asked her to investigate. She says she was simply interested in the latest attack that killed her fourth son and wanted to know about his past. The woman says it might just be a coincidence. The woman says it might be, adding that Jin is better at martial arts and she's more knowledgeable about things, but even so, he's interested in a pig who exhausts herself with just that. The woman says she thinks the girl's special curiosity is something that even the great he has given up on. The woman says she can't understand this. The girl says she has always been intrigued and asks how one can see with one's eye closed. She asks when she's going to get rid of her bangs and explains that she doesn't understand why the girl hides her beauty like that. The woman says she wants to know if she would prefer to have her bangs combed back, and she wonders. The girl says that if more men paid attention to Jin, she would envy him. This sounds pathetic, and the girl explains that if that's the case, then so be it. The woman says she's glad he doesn't like to draw attention to himself and that she values their friendship. The girl says that he also likes that she doesn't look like the typical member of the Chaegol clan, Soyol. The clapping sounds are heard from the top right side. Father stands next to Jin and Yonha. The man says that for the honor of their clan, he hopes the girl will be safe. Jin says that he will return, bringing glory to their clan. He thanks a girl named Yanha for coming to say goodbye to him. Yanha says that it's natural since he's going far away. The girl says, "Here, you need to take it." Jin asks what it is, and the girl says that it is rice balls that she made for him so that he could eat them on the way. He says the girl packaged the rice balls herself. The girl says yes, although she can't vouch for the taste. Jin thanks Yanhei and calls her the best, then says he'll eat them well. The sound of a footstep is heard. A guy on a horse announces that he'll be back soon. A man and a girl watch the group ride away. Jin rides ahead of a group of riders along a forest path. He says to the boy. The man and woman on horses look at him questioningly. Jin says it's not time to rest yet. Zhang Kansong says he was the leader. He explains that he's worried the girl might throw a tantrum because she can't leave. Jin says that from here he will run to Yunnan. The man asks, what? He says he's going to walk there to lose some weight. The man asks if the other one is going to run there with his body. The man says he understands the determination, but they have entered into a contract and wasted time will result in losses for them. Jin asks what about his horse. The man on the horse remains silent. He says that it is a very good horse and asks what is wrong with it. The man says he can give it to you. The man asks if the price for such a horse would not be more than enough. Jin says he thinks she'll do. The man says it looks like she's trying to trick him. The man says haha and announces that he will be frank. The man says Jin could ask any price for such a horse, but Jin explains that it's too expensive to receive as compensation. The man notes that this is unexpected. He apologizes to Warrior Jang for the wrong impression of such an honest man and says that it is a great honor for him to work with such an excellent warrior. The man says he's just and explains that he knows well what this horse is worth. The man explains that he won't be able to get a good price for it on the battlefield and is worried that his resolve will weaken if he has such a thing. The boy listens to him. Jin says that in exchange for giving him this horse, he can ask you to continue looking after him. The man says he is nothing like the man rumored to be. The man says that they paid quite a high price, so he will do everything in his power for them. The race has begun. To travel on horseback from Guizhou province to Yunnan province, it will take 3 days without rest. Jin reports that it will be extremely difficult for him. He says that this run will undoubtedly be the nourishment that will allow him to revive. The man says he will change this life for the better, no matter what. Jin screams, "Bo!" The man asks if he's doing this not just because he doesn't want to go. He answers with a question and makes a noise. Jin says he's had enough rest and says, "Let's go." A man communicates something, a man explains, a man speaks, a man tells. The man asks if running has always been this hard. The woman looks at him silently. The man reports that less than 15 minutes have passed, but he doesn't even have the strength to move a single muscle. Jin says he feels something strange. He says you need to wipe your sweat with this. The man says it's Jin and reports that he put on a pathetic display. He asks if they know him. The man says he heard Ms. Cheel's soul say his name yesterday. Another man explains that Jin has a good memory. The man says he has a few more and offers to take them to keep for himself. Jin says, good luck. He says he will encourage them. Jin says there are many dangers in the forest and warns them to be careful. The man says they must move quickly and not stop. The man explains that if someone falls behind, they could get lost. The man says it's better to stick together and help each other. The man says it's impressive. The woman says she's jealous of them for getting a handkerchief from such a lady. He silently holds the handkerchief in his hand. Jin says that maybe that's not the reason, but it still feels really nice. The man says, let's continue now, and everyone shouts hooray. A woman makes the sound of crying. Men kneel and beat the ground. The man says that since they're resting anyway, let's eat. Jin remains silent. He says he thinks they will eat outdoors quite often. The sounds of footsteps can be heard around a fire in the forest. The man asks if he can try it too. Jin says yes. He says it's not a problem, and the man says Jin's younger sister didn't cook for him. The man says she doesn't have the best cooking skills, and that it was unfit for human consumption. The man laughs and says that it is indeed so, and the other man explains that if such a beautiful miss from such a family could cook well, it would be unfair. The man says that whoever she marries will be in trouble, and Jin asks how he is doing. He says that he is silent, and the man shouts what he said. The man reports that he appears to be. 2 dead crows and crushed eggs with centipedes nearby lie on the ground. Jin reveals that he's not quite in the mood to be on good terms with his family. Yonha reports that she acted completely differently than he remembers. The man reveals that in a past life, she was his only family. The man explains that he was disturbed when he saw the worry in her eyes. The woman thinks about the hatred and disgust in the eyes and wonders if her assumption was wrong. The man says that now he knows it's not that Iana has changed, but that he was simply too stupid to understand the problem back then. The man reveals that she never cared about him to begin with, and that perhaps the one who killed Dan Hassan is. Jin says he was just glad to see that he understood his father's goodwill, but now it's clear his sister was never on his side. The man says, hop. A man asks to borrow his blade. The journey after that was a continuation of training. Jin says he ran when they moved and swung his sword and blade while they rested. He reports that he trained using the cardiac method instead of sleeping and, given the approaching front, he could not lose a minute. Jin reveals that this place is the land of death and explains that if he doesn't want to die, he needs to do everything in his power. He says that in his entire life, he has never seen anyone train as hard as his interlocutor. The man says he thought Jin couldn't go that far, but now he's ashamed of himself. Jin explains he's just trying not to die. He says that he always. The 2 men notice the unexpected event and express surprise. Jin falls forward, trying to catch himself. A man with a sword shouts out who is there and explains that someone brazenly ambushed them without any respect. A man with an eye patch says it's bizarre to see those who are about to die talk about respect. A man orders people to drop their weapons and surrender. A man with a sword watches a group of people. The man says that he has heard of the fame of the leader of the Green Tiger Fortress, and it is a great honor for him to meet him. The man says, unless, of course, you want your head crushed. The caption says this is the Green Tiger's fortress, and the Green Tiger's godfather is Mac Goosum. The man says that the godfather of the Green Tiger is Mac Goosum. The man says that when the fight starts, they need to take the horse and leave because they won't be able to buy much time. Jin gives the name to the Mac Gus. The man says he remembers this man, and unlike other bandit lackeys, he's one of those who has learned real martial arts. The man says that they are ready to pay a fee if the other person wishes, and that the issue can be resolved through conversation, since they do not need to shed blood. The man says that the payment is all they have, and explains that he wants their clothes, horses, swords, and everything else, warning that if they strip and run away, he will not pursue them. The man laughs and demands to undress quickly. Another man suggests that the boss do things his way because of the appetizing ass, and the boss tells them to get on the horse and hurry, because there is no time. Jin says that damn him and accuses the man of daring to attack him, the 3rd son of the Songwu clan, and also says that the man must want to be wiped off the face of the earth. The man with the axe informs Jin that he is Fatty, the 3rd son of the Songwu clan, and explains that he is the godfather of Green Tiger Mac Goosum, and asks if he intends to dig his own grave by attacking him. The man says he is not going to give up. The man asks what Jin is carrying. The axe-wielding man says he's undoubtedly the heir to the Songwu clan. The staff-wielding man asks if he's trying to trick him. Jin says that this bronze emblem is the symbol of their clan and proof of that. The man says to throw it to him and asks to let him check it. The man says he is not going to ambush him if he comes closer and warns that if he does not come closer, he will immediately attack. The man says he'll just throw it to Jin from here, and Jin says he should give it back to him as soon as he's finished. He throws a spinning object towards a man with an axe. The man tries to catch the object with his hand. The man shouts, "Ha," and deflects the blow with his hand. Jin says, and then says, "Guayang restaurant." A man hits another man with a stick, who is thrown back. A man screams in pain after being hit in the chest. The man yells what's going on, and the guy tells the boss. The man reports that it is a surprise attack and orders them to stop him. Jin grabs the hilt of the sword. The man screams in pain as he stabs him. Jin grips the hilt of his sword tightly. He delivers a quick and powerful blow with his sword, creating a glowing trail. A man reports that they were suddenly attacked and screams, "Wah!" And another man also screams, "Wah!" A man shouts to attack and help the heir of the Songwoo clan, while other men shout a battle cry. The guy screams for help that they are being killed, and a man orders them to run and disperse. Jin says that here it is, his body. He says that his soul. Jin says they are excited to be back in the fighting spirit. The image contains no text or characters, only trees and the sky. The man says that everyone who was here is dead, and now they can move on. The man explains that there is no one left alive in this place and warns that there may be danger ahead. The man says to be careful and stick together. Jin says he is very tired. The man says that if they don't find a cure, he will die. The man explains that the cure can only be found in the mountains. The man says that they must go there immediately. The man asks if Jin is a martial artist who has become younger. He says that it is simply impossible, and even if it were true, such a person would not have fallen down without strength after this little fight. The man says that although this is a good argument, it is not easy to kill without hesitation at such an age. Jin says that they are lying on the ground full of corpses, and this gives him some wild thoughts, especially. The man reports that he seems to have seen him use sword chi before. He explains that this is not the case, he is just second-rate, he only has 20 years of ordinary chi. A man explains that the 13 swords of Seongwoo are a martial art that emphasizes concealing the blades, which is perhaps why it came into being. Another man says these are the famous 13 swords of Seongwoo. The man says that swordsmanship in prestigious clans is indeed different, and that who would have thought that martial art could demonstrate such power. Jin reports that at 40, he's only saved enough for 20 years, and is embarrassed by this. The man asks what heart methods he's learned. He says that this is only the typical method of the 6 unions of the heart, and that is all he could learn. The man reports that the method of the 6 unions of the heart is understandable. Jin says that of all the things he could have learned, he chose a third-rate heart method that can be easily purchased at any bookstore. The man says that, to be honest, he is more impressed by the fact that he obtained a 20-year supply of ki through the 6 unions heart method. Jin is sitting on the ground. The man announces that it's time to hit the road. His efforts were unsuccessful because he could not find suitable martial arts, and he feels that he sees in it his former self when he had to beg and copy the martial arts of others. The man says the horse is very beautiful and will be a good helper. The boy says the horse is very obedient and easy to handle. The woman says the horse looks healthy and strong. Jin says he can't understand why he's so irritated by this situation. After this, Jin's running training continued, and he reports that they finally reached Yunnan province. The man says it took them 9 days to get here and explains that it's too long to be able to stay at a decent hotel. The text says this was after a long 9-day journey. The guy says today is his last day and offers him a drink, promising to pay. The man replies that he is a wonderful man and the heir to the Songwoo clan. The woman says that the heir of such a prestigious clan truly knows how to be generous. The man listens. Jin stands behind them. He says he can't smile well. Jin asks if Warrior Gon will return home after this. The man says that he now has children, so he doesn't think he can continue living this life, and confirms this with the word yes. The woman says that mercenaries like them shouldn't have children. The man says that they should stop being jealous first. Jin says they have a beautiful lady here and invites you to come in. The man says, and he says, isn't that the lady from before? Jin says he can't afford to be weak, because weakness means death. Then Jin says he must become stronger to protect those he cares about. The man says it's that lady. The man addresses Jin as Miss Jungyeon. The man says it's nice to see everyone here again and laughs. Jin says if everything is okay, then why not sit with them? He reports that he put something on the surface. The woman pours tea. Jin says they already did, laughing. A man greets Miss and announces that they plan to have a few drinks, suggesting they order something to eat first. Another man says it's nice to see her here again. Jin says they can order food later and then. He says that he also wants to volunteer for the front. The man expresses surprise. The man asks what they said. The woman says that they want to go to the battlefield. Jin tells him to wait and asks why he needs to do that. He says it's a place where even the most famous martial artists are afraid to go, leading to forced conscription, and yet a young girl wants to volunteer to go there alone. Jin says he wants to know why Miss decided to voluntarily join the front. Miss remains silent. He says that his interlocutor has lost a little weight. Jin says that due to his training, he has lost a little weight and thinks that is enough to be noticed. The man reports that the heir of the Songwoo clan has made incredible efforts, and they even dealt with bandits on the way here. He says that he is praised too much and there is nothing special about him. The man says that the heir to the throne, despite his thinner appearance, looks quite attractive. Jin laughs and says he heard that he would look good if he lost weight. He says he's going to get some fresh air. The man places the jug on the table. The woman reports that she was unable to enter last time. Jin says to take the first sip, addressing the heir of the Songwoo clan. He says with gratitude. The image contains no text or speech, only a building illuminated by lanterns at night. Jin says, "Who?" He says he used to be so cute. Jin says it's just like his teddy bear named Dumpling. He says that this is the only movement he demonstrated, as if it was a great success, and reports that along with his biography, which she found out by digging into his past, Jin says that everything about him piqued his curiosity. The sight of his body picking and his stamina were so low that he couldn't last even 15 minutes. Jin says she couldn't let him be killed by the demonic people from the blood cult. He says he had to protect him because it was his duty as the man who first discovered such a hidden, delicious attraction. Jin says that's why he followed them all the way here. He says that he no longer has a reason to go to the front and that he thinks about his family who would worry about him. Jin says he'll be back home tomorrow. Someone is screaming. Jin informs that spirits live in this forest and warns that one must be careful not to bring trouble upon oneself. He says that someone is screaming for help and falling, then he says that it is close. Jin shouts, asking who is there. He says it's not just a beast, but a demon that devours people's souls and turns them into monsters. He explains that if it's not destroyed now, it will consume everyone in the area and become even stronger. Jin strikes. The man doesn't try to defend himself. He says that then he will make sure that this one blow will end everything. Jin delivers a powerful blow to the opponent, causing flashes of light and the sound of impact. He says something, after which he reacts sharply, and then he exclaims, expressing surprise. Jin stands with his sword drawn, preparing to attack, as a creature with a red glow leaps towards him. He screams in pain as the man stabs him with a sword. Jin leaps down sharply, pointing his sword forward. The man opposite him radiates powerful energy, preparing to attack. He says "Kek," and suddenly jumps forward with a sword in his hand. Jin says what it is. The man says he is a pervert. Jin screams, making an attack sound. He says, "Huh," preparing to attack with his sword, surrounded by blue flames. Jin delivers a powerful punch surrounded by blue light, while the man with a red glow around his body prepares to counterattack. He says it's impossible. The man with the sword shouts, asking who is there, and Jin reacts to his shout in surprise. He screams to stop, and the man warns that it is impossible. The man punches Jin in the stomach, who stands still, surrounded by a red glow. The man says it's his sword. Jin screams in pain as the wounded demon tries to grab him. The man says that he will not let Jin leave. The image shows a hand tightly gripping the hilt of a sword. The man states that he is not afraid of death and is ready to die, and then makes a sound similar to laughter or screaming. Jin only says an exclamation point with 3 exclamation points. The man delivers a powerful blow to Jin. A woman delivers a powerful blow to a man's face with a sword. Jin says he's fine, but the other man says something without finishing his sentence. The woman speaks to Brother Yang, calls him by name, and repeats his name. Jin tells them to quickly go to the hotel. The man says that he just killed Yang, and Jin explains that he will just follow them and they can't fight him outside. He screams, "Kaya ah," as a large pink creature approaches him and a group of people from behind. Jin says he can't let himself be caught and asks them not to interfere. The man says he doesn't mean to hurt anyone, but he wants to help. He strikes the enemy, piercing him through and through. Jin tells everyone to go back inside, and the man responds with surprise. He says, "Fang." The sound of sliding or moving across a surface is conveyed through onomatopoeia. Jin says he can't believe this happened. The girl is screaming. The girl is screaming. Jin protects the girl by covering her with his body, while a creature with a long blade attacks them from above. A man screams in pain or rage. Jin says, "You need to keep quiet." The man explains that he cannot die because his body is his own, and he cannot die while it is intact. He explains that this is impossible, and says that the man cannot die because he is not human. The man explains that he is a demon, and his body does not obey the laws of life and death. The man reports that the man may not have had his eyes closed to begin with. Jin finds what is happening strange, and asks if it could be something. The man says he is the heir to the Songwoo clan. He asks if the girl is okay. The man makes a sound similar to laughing or screaming. Jin reports that there are people in the hotel. A man says he's in danger and yells "Kya," while another man coughs. The man screams that it is a monster and lets out a scream. Jin screams, and the man says, "No, Yinga." A man with a bandage on his head delivers blows that cause several people to fall and retreat. The man asks where such a monster came from and makes a sound of surprise. The man says he can't. Jin delivers a powerful blow to the opponent. The man hits Jin with a stick, causing him to fall from his chair. Jin tells everyone to be quiet, and the man announces that the heir to the Songwoo clan must leave immediately. The man says the owner should bring guards, and the woman screams that someone should save them. Jin says that this is bad, and if he can't shut them up. The man says that no one can survive. The man says he is going to attack again. Jin screams and runs forward. The man with the sword turns around in surprise. A man places his hands on a green patterned fabric object. Jin screams, throwing objects from the table. A man tells everyone to shut up. Jin says that if he can't win, he will die. The man explains that he doesn't intend to kill Jin, but only wants to test his strength. The man says it's impossible, and the woman says it's weird. Jin states that he cannot allow himself to be weak, because weakness will lead to death. He says he can't afford to relax. The man says that if he can't win, he will leave the club. Jin screams and throws a chair. The man says why. The man says that if he screams, they will all be killed, and asks him to remain silent. The other man says he understands. The man lets out a cry of surprise when Jin covers his mouth with his hand. He says no, and asks if there is anything else that could be making the noise. Jin screams and jumps down from above with his sword, surrounded by a blue glow. The man below makes a sound. He slams into the man with force, knocking him back. Jin slashes his sword downwards at the large pink creature, which makes a sound of pain. He reports that he cannot afford to lose. The woman strikes swiftly. Jin strikes a man with his sword, who tries to defend himself with his hand raised. He says that we need to explain right now. Jin says he can locate people by sound alone and warns not to make any sound, even when breathing. The man says it's impossible, and the woman says she can't believe it. Jin says that simple silence won't change anything. In the background, a man stabs another man. He says that if the enemy realizes that he can't rely on sound, he will use his sense of smell, and he says that he must remove it before that happens. Jin informs that in order to do this, first, the woman says she needs to get his attention, and Jin thinks the enemy is currently focused on Chongyun. He says he is surprised. Jin says you need to be quiet. He says he can't let them leave and says that if they don't surrender, he'll kill them all. The blindfolded man explains that they're not going to give up and are ready to fight to the end. He says he has no choice and will start the fight. Jin says that he will get his attention with a noise before approaching him, and explains that if the sound comes from an unexpected direction, he won't know what to do. He says that then he will come to him. The man announces that he is not going to give up, and his body begins to glow red. A man reacts to broken dishes. Jin reports that everything is fine. He says that no mistake can be made because if the enemy's hand even touches him, his weak body will be torn to shreds. Jin touches the man's back. He says, "Hic." The man in the center says, "Hiccup." The man on the right says, "Hiccup." The man on the left is silent. Jin says, "Ikwe." He says he can't speak because his mouth is sewn up. Jin says he can't believe this happened. The man lowers his head. Jin says he can't speak because his mouth is sewn shut. He says he can't believe it happened. The man lowers his head. The man reveals himself and warns that if anyone approaches, he will kill. The man explains that he is not afraid of death and is willing to die to defend his honor. Jin says that he can't let anyone get hurt because of him and that he has to fight. He strikes his sword from above down at a man who is standing in front of another man and trying to hold him back. The guy swears and says that now he has nowhere to retreat. The man says he's gone crazy. The man screams, his eyes wide open and his eyelids lifted with his hands. Jin screams and then asks what's going on. The man stabs Jin. The girl screams to hit the opponent in the mouth and inside him. Jin says his body can reflect sword energy. He says he might have something in his mouth. Jin makes sounds while swinging his sword sharply, surrounded by blue flames. He strikes his sword, impaling the enemy and surrounded by blue flames. He then grips the hilt of his sword and continues to fight another opponent. A man screams in pain as a sword is thrust into his face. Jin says, "Ugh," clutching the sword with both hands. He puts his hands on another person's head. Jin says that if he doesn't pull out the sword, he'll die and asks for help. The man says that the sword is stuck too deep and it will be difficult to pull it out. He says he can't afford to lose it and tries to snatch the sword. The man says he's not going to let go of the sword. The man makes a loud noise and screams. Jin says he can't believe the man was able to last this long and explains that he must now help him. He says that if he doesn't take the sword now, he won't be able to protect himself or others and asks for help. The man says that the sword is heavy and asks to be careful. A man reports that a potentially dangerous person has appeared in the village. The man explains that this person has unusual abilities and could cause harm. The man says that everyone needs to be careful and keep each other informed. The man tells them that if they're not careful, they'll die, and explains that their heads are connected, so they need to move together. The second man says they must try to get out of here, despite the difficulties. There is no text or speech on stage. Several people are seen standing and lying on the ground in front of a building with columns. The man informs them that fighting is prohibited in this area and explains that if anyone breaks the rule, they will be punished. The man explains that they must maintain order and respect each other. The man says he didn't expect this. Jin says there's still a little bit left, so he plans to hurry. The man asks if they're leaving. The man wishes them a safe journey and good luck. He asks why the man did all this for them and how they can repay him for such a deed. Jin thanks and hopes that Warrior Jong and Warrior John will also be healthy. Warrior Gong wishes for Jin's family plans to be successful. He says he originally prepared 5 volumes, but didn't think he'd end up handing out only 3. The man asks what it is and says that it is nothing special, but it should be better than the Heart of the Six Unions method. Jin explains that the method is called the Heart Preservation Method. The man says that the 6-union heart method is possible and starts to object, but is interrupted. The guy says that at the end he also added a few one-sided forms he knows. The man explains that there's nothing magical about them either, but they should help. Jin talks about a method for preserving the heart. He explains that squad leader Sol Pan obtained this method for him in his past life. He explains that this allowed him to reach a 60-year level of internal chi in less than 10 years, and reveals that it is actually the heart method that has allowed him to achieve the highest level of mastery. Jin says they worked well together and fought for their lives, and asks if they aren't friends. He says he has no use for old friends now, so he's simply giving them to his new friends. The man thanks. The boy says it's time for him to go now. The man explains that if he stays here any longer, it will take him a whole day to cross the 2 hills. Jin hopes that they will meet again as first-class martial artists, and says that he will by all means reach the first level and visit them again, offering to sincerely drink and rejoice during this time. A man reports that many strange people have appeared in the city recently. He explains that they are acting suspiciously and could pose a danger. He advises people to be careful and avoid contact with them. Jin reveals that he has never seen a martial artist demonstrate martial arts to strangers before, and explains that he is not an ordinary person. He says it's okay because these aren't the Songwoo clan's secrets. Jin says that there are countless monsters at the front that Sword Ki won't work on, and warns that Miss might actually die, asking if she's really going to go to the front lines. He says that he thought about it a lot yesterday, but he thinks it's right for him to go there. Jin says that if there are countless numbers of these monsters there, the man reports that even now, someone is fighting for their life against such monsters. He explains that if he turned around and went home, he would be giving up such an opportunity. Jin says that life isn't meant to be lived like that, and that his father always taught him to be proud. The man listens. He says he wants to know who he is taken for, and asks if he is just a lady or a martial artist to his interlocutor. Jin doesn't feel the slightest hesitation in her answers, and tells her that to think that such a young lady is a martial arts master. He says that he underestimated the deep conviction of his interlocutor, and offers his deepest apologies. Jin accepts the apology and says that the other person is truly a person who can admit his mistakes. He says he is ready. Jin speaks to Chongleng. The text states that Yunnan is the great battlefield of the blood demon cult. He makes a sound of pain as he is shot in the stomach. The man behind Jin smiles. The man yells, "No, holding the girl, who is bent forward. The man with the sword on the ground informs her that she can't be distracted while he's nearby. The man in the tree says this with a grin. Jin reports that the blood demon cult, the leader of the twin demons, the scythe of 7 tribulations, the man says this brat is her lover and says he'll make sure she forgets about him soon. At the bottom, it says this is the first twin from Jimok's scythe of 7 misfortunes. The man says he's already salivating over the girl and turns to his brother. The man asks what he told his brother. The text block reveals that this is the second twin from the 7 tribulations scythe, Gu Yejil. Against the backdrop of sky and trees, a red creature emits light from a raised hand, making a drawn-out sound. The man notices Jin raise his hand and release a red energy stream upwards. The man says they fired a red flare and they're going to be in trouble soon. The guy in the mask says they need to grab one more girl before they leave. The man with the bun on his head yells. A woman tells everyone to take up defensive positions. Several warriors with swords take up fighting positions on a forest path. The man laughs and throws a punch. The guy screams. The woman tells them to hold on, that the squad leader will be here soon while she and Jin fight the enemy. Jin deflects an attack with his sword. The man next to him watches the fight tensely. The man laughs and asks if the other person thinks that's enough. A man with a scythe watches a battle in which several warriors with sickles engage a leaping enemy. The warriors strike quickly, attempting to strike the enemy. The girl reports that she is tired and breathing heavily. A man makes a sound that expresses pain or surprise. Jin jumps down from a tree. A man and a girl look up. It is reported that this is the 13th Corps of the Soaring Dragon, the commander of the 4th Squad, Diankong Hakma Yugem. A man makes a sound that expresses fear or surprise. Jin jumps from a height, heading downwards. The man and girl look up. Hakma Yugyeom is reported to be the leader of the 4th Squad of the 13th Soaring Dragon Corps, known by the nickname Diankang. The woman shouts to the commander, and the man says that he has arrived. A man reports that Dianzong Hawk is here and asks what they'll do. Another man explains that it's just one guy, he'll handle it, and the rest should take care of the others for now. A man makes a sound expressing effort or tension while vigorously swinging 2 sickles. Jin strikes down with his sword. The man deflects the attack, creating a powerful whirlwind. A man strikes a guy with a staff who is surrounded by purple energy. Jin strikes the scythe-wielding man with his sword, causing their weapons to clash. A man makes a thumping sound. Jin delivers a powerful blow with his sword, knocking the man down and causing a massive explosion on the ground. A man strikes the ground with 2 sickles, causing destruction and the ejection of stones. The woman reports that another one is coming. Jin says that. What? The woman reveals that her name is Tan Yen and her nickname is Blade Peak. The man says he can't let Jin leave. Jin attacks the man with a sword. 2 men fight, their blows colliding with loud sounds. He looks forward intently, holding his sword. Jin strikes with his sword. The man parries the attack. The man makes a sound of pain. The man says he will detain the enemy and orders him to leave, and he tells him to grab the girl and run, after which the man confirms that he understood. The man shouts that the girl is his and calls her to him. The woman says that if there are no problems, she will leave. The guy tells her she's running away. The man orders her to stop. A woman runs along a forest path, chased by several men with sickles in their hands. The woman says she knows what Jin wants to say. The man says that if he can't protect his loved ones, he has no right to live. The man says that if he's not mistaken, this is the guy. The man suddenly lunges forward with a sickle in his hand, lifting the girl, and Jin makes a sound that accompanies his movement. He strikes his opponent with his sword. The man screams in pain. Jin says he will unblock the flow of chi and asks him to hold on. The woman calls him the deputy head. A man shouts, "Bro," and another man says, "Dragon Diankang, Sagunil." The man reports that there are more of them and says that they are trapped. The woman says that demons are stupid and only now realized it. A woman strikes with a sword. A man parries it with his weapon. A man screams that he is a bitch, and another man tells his brother to watch. The man reports that the 13th Corps of the Soaring Dragon, Captain Feng Yan, Jin throws a punch. The man deflects it, causing a massive explosion. The man screams and calls out the name of Feng Yan. He jumps from a tree holding a sword in his hand. 3 men with weapons in their hands prepare for battle. A man delivers a powerful blow with his sword, creating a bright, glowing trail. Jin delivers a powerful blow with his sword, cutting through the enemy. Hangyo-sun says he had a good dream but was awakened. The caption states he is the commander of the 1st Squad. The man says that even Hangyo-sun's Azure Dragon Blade. Jin tells his brother that they need to run, and the man curses and says that he will not leave it like this. He says that the lives of the opponents will end here and asks where they are going. Then he jumps to attack the man with 2 sickles. The man screams in pain and asks to wait for him. 3 men are running along a forest path. The man speaks intermittently, and Jin shouts that, "No." He says to Chonglun, turning to him with a request. Jin says he's late and asks how things are going. He says that Solpan, damn him, and asks why so late. Jin says that if he were here, they would be able to kill at least one of the 7 misfortunes, and if they were lucky, they would finish them all off. He says they were ambushed. Jin says that's all the irresponsible piece of shit can say, and explains that this is why he said that a worthless soldier like him should never become a squad leader under any circumstances. The woman says enough, and he says that he will no longer tolerate insults directed at his commander. The woman says the 7th squad was fighting 5 cunning spirits when they were attacked by a spider spirit lurking in the shadows, and 2 of the fighters died. She reports that Sol Pan came running as soon as he dealt with the enemies. Jin says it's a spider spirit. He explains that spider spirits absorb people's essence to strengthen their chi, and that they are among the most dangerous demonic creatures. He says that spider spirits become stronger over time, so they should be killed as soon as they are discovered, and reports that this is known to the interlocutor. Jin says he doesn't care. The man, woman, and boy stand silently nearby. The woman says that if there is nothing else to say, he puts his hand on the woman's shoulder. The woman tells him to stop because he just lost one of his fighters, and Jin explains that they lost fighters too. He says everything is fine, and there is no need to worry. The woman says she can't understand why Jin doesn't want to go to town, and explains that there are many useful things to be found there. The woman says that he is too soft, which is why Ma Yugyeom constantly wipes her feet on him and warns that if he continues to act like this, he will only make life difficult for his fighters. The woman sighs, and Jin laughs and says he doesn't think so. He says that he is apologizing for him. The man says that everything is fine and he understands. Jin tells the captain that he heard that new recruits will be arriving today. The captain listens silently. He says it will take time for them to prove themselves, but he still feels relieved. Jin says he hopes they can hold out. It is reported that this is Yunnan, the cult of blood demons, the 2nd headquarters. The woman informs that this is the waiting room and asks to wait as the vice captain will be here soon. Jin says that besides Jongyun, she is the only person who joins and believes that some things don't change. He reports that he heard that the 13th Corps has the youngest members and asks if this is related to the death of all the experienced martial artists. Jin says it looks like it does, but the trend of declining average age affects all parts of the Soren Dragon Corps. From what he had seen in his past life, the 13th Corps was mostly made up of the youngest, and among its members, only the captain and vice captain were middle-aged. Jin says this is worrying, and reports that it appears the Corps is filled with young martial artists who have been forcibly conscripted. He says there is no money or fame here. The man asks, in what sense? The voice informs that what happens on the front lines cannot be told to outsiders, and no matter the achievements or the sad ending, no one will know about it. Jin says that although they claim that the heroes don't care, people instinctively avoid this corps because of the dangers that ultimately bring neither fame nor money, as he explained. The man says, "Ahem." Hyun Youngbo reveals that he is Swiftwing Falconblade and vice captain of the 13th Corps. Jin says the other person heard his name. He says he never thought the day would come when he'd miss this person and that he needs to restrain himself. The woman says she's never heard of them and asks if they're famous for anything, and he says it's nice to meet you. The man says there are many forgotten martial artists on the front lines due to the vow of silence and believes the girl doesn't know much. Jin says that he is almost sure that he knows all the masters of the highest level and asks if the interlocutor has achieved such a level. A man makes a sound expressing pleasure or satisfaction. Jin says she hit a weak spot the first time they met and explains that the vice captain must be very angry. The man behind her remains silent, clenching his fist. The man says that there is little time, so we need to move on to distribution to new squads, and asks the group leaders to come here. The man reports that the 3rd son of the Sunwoo clan is Sunwoo Jin. The man talks about the Songwoo clan, but he remains silent. The man says that the next one is Chongjin, the eldest daughter of Chonggasan of Guizhou, the Deadly Guardians, and repeats the name of the Deadly Guardians of Guizhou. The girl says they are unorthodox. The daughter of unorthodox martial artists, a volunteer on the front lines supported by the Murim Alliance, tells Jin that it's surprising he's interested. The man says he's asking if it's true that he's also from an unorthodox sect, and he explains that it's Chungyan, a sect, Ro. Jin says that she introduced herself to him simply as Jungyam. Although given that the mistress of the Chagall clan calls her by her first name, there is no doubt that she has an unusual background. He says his name is Chongnyon. The man tells the miss that those whose identity is not confirmed cannot volunteer to go to the front lines. Jin says that this is nonsense and reveals that he doesn't know anything about Sol Pan, the captain of the 7th Squad. He reports that he hasn't heard anything like that and explains that it's not in their 13th building. Jin says that he must either reveal his sect and parents or join another squad. He informs her that Miss Jonghyun is a close friend of Jegal Soil, the apex of the Heavenly Wisdom Sword. The man asks if he knows Soil. The man says that this is the closely guarded flower of the Chagall clan and the daughter of the Muram alliance strategist, Chagall Digan. The man demands she not lie to him and asks why she then volunteers to go to the front lines. Jin says she has no idea, but she must have her reasons. He says that perhaps this is somehow connected with the affairs of the alliance's high ranks. The man reports that he is very nervous and trembling while holding the scroll. The man says that this is the 7th Detachment Department. Jin says it's the same as in the memories. Over the past 7 years, many events have happened here, both sad and happy. Jin says the left side is for men, and the right side is for men. He'd be grateful if he could avoid Ma Yogyom's squad, but he thinks it's nonsense to think everyone will be here in the 7th Squad. He says that some will try to shake him up, and hopes that his interlocutor will treat this with understanding. The man says that the 3rd son of the Songwoo clan is the one who is spoken of as a complete disgrace, and asks the commander if he's crazy for bringing this garbage here. He orders the filthy pig to back off, because even the sight of him is sickening. The man says he doesn't feel like throwing up, and Jin says he doesn't think that's what you call shaking up a newbie. 2 men walk down a hallway. One of them says he was able to endure and change, but wanted to die because of the abuse. Jin says it's nice to think he's back in the 7th Squad. He announces that they have arrived. The man in blue says that they can now rest in peace. The man in dark clothes explains that everyone has gathered to discuss an important matter. The woman with pink hair, the woman with a bun, and the man in light clothes listen. Jin says he's the squad leader and asks if the man in front of him is a new recruit. The man says that, judging by Jin's build, he's sure they'll get along well over food and expresses pleasure at meeting him. The guy on the right asks what the pig is doing here. The man on the left and the man in the center stand silently nearby. The man says there's no point in waiting for the other recruits to show up and suggests just looking at their commander. Jin agrees and says to look. He says that things aren't that bad compared to the past and that maybe he did the right thing by losing weight. The man says that he is Songwoo Jin, the 3rd son of the Songwoo clan from Guizhou, and explains that he will be on the front lines, so they ask for help. A man asks about the Songwoo clan. The man on the right says he's the 3rd son of Shangwu and that they say he looks more like a pig than a man. The man on the left explains that he's the guy his younger brother beat up and adds that he thinks he's lost a little weight. Jin says it must have been hard to get here. The man says he never thought a pig could lose weight. The man explains that if Jin wants to be bait for the demon cult, he'd better gain the weight back. He says that if he can't find a way, he will die. Jin and the man turn around sharply, noticing something. He says hello. Jin says it's nice to meet you, huh man? He says that he knows his interlocutor and offers to first break his ribs, to which the man asks if he knows him. A man screams in surprise. The image shows a kick on the ground. Jin delivers a powerful punch to the man with the top-knot stomach, piercing through him. He suddenly grabs the man's hand and throws him aside. Jin delivers a powerful downward punch. He says that he cannot die because he is immortal. A man yells at Jin, asking what he is doing. Jin says he asked what was wrong and reports that he was told he was retarded. The man says that if there is no result, he will have to give up the case, but he says that he cannot afford to fail. Jin says that this is enough to show them, but shouldn't he beat up the others to be fair? The sound of footsteps can be heard. Jin asks what's going on here. The man says that this voice, he reports that the boss is finally here. The man asks what is going on here. The man asks what's going on here. Jin stands nearby and listens. The man asks, what is going on here? Jin says the main dog has finally arrived. He makes a gesture by folding the fingers of one hand into a fist and placing the palm of the other hand against it. Jin says he's glad to meet you and tells you his name is Shongwoo Jin and he just joined the squad. He says they seemed friendly at first but called him a pig and an idiot, so he reciprocated and asked what brought them here. Jin reveals that he is Ju Taegyung of the Dianshan sect. He thinks that he is not going to provoke him because he values Dianshan's reputation. It is said that the snake blade is from the Dianshan sect, Ju Taegyung. It is said that the Dianshan sect was one of the 9 greatest sects, which is why he has a very inflated ego. It is said that he was a troublemaker who went around pestering people because he couldn't accept the fact that he was just a member of the Selponga team. A man reveals that his first love died in vain because of another person, and he won't let that happen again. The man reports that the other man's combat skill level is first class, while his is only second class. Jin says they still have 2 new girls and asks if the man wants to have dinner with them. The man thinks it's best not to risk it, even if he uses Penga village. A man clenches his teeth. Jin says, "Bastard," to the man who is standing with his back to the group of people on the right. He says he's heard a lot about his interlocutor and calls him Dianjin Snakeblade, asking if that's true. The man says he's forgotten that his interlocutor is the leader. The man says something and asks what the other person said. Jin says that Dianjin Snakeblade is his title, isn't it? The man says his interlocutor hasn't studied him enough, and that will be the cause of his death. Jin explains what happened to the Dianjin Snakeblade. The man in blue replies that he is from a great sect and demands an explanation for how Jin dares to insult him. He says he hasn't come up with anything better and asks to let him go this time. Jin says he's not going to give up even if it costs him his life. The man says he will be crossing a line if he doesn't put the sword away, adding that he doesn't need it. The man says he must answer for insulting a first-class martial artist and asks if Jin wants to intervene. He says it was his mistake and apologizes. The man says that Jin was being too harsh with the squad leader, even though he was his subordinate, so he thought Jin didn't care about the chain of command. Jin objects. He says he's a great guy and tells them they're lucky. Jin says that the person he's talking to isn't quite up to the level of the leader in terms of skill, and the gap between them is large, and it seems like it will take him a month or 2 to catch up. A man says something with a question, and then asks whether the other person will dare to take responsibility for the words spoken. Jin says that if he can, then what? The man gives 3 months and says that they will fight after the time has passed, and if he loses, he will die, and asks if he will regret his decision. Jin asks what will happen if he wins. The man replies that then he will die. He says that they shouldn't kill each other because they are in the same squad. Jin suggests that if he wins, he will become a senior and asks how it is, thinking that this is enough. He says he can't afford to lose. The man says, "Okay, whatever you want." Jin says he's not going to stop even at this point. He says to fight with all your might. The man and Jin tell Tegan to wait. 3 men run and ask him to wait for them and themselves. The man says it was great and so refreshing. He reveals his name is Sunwoo. Jin says they'll be friends and says he thinks the other guy is funny, laughing. Bi-se-yeon was a disciple of the sect that perished in the massacre. He reveals that Ju Tae-young is directly involved, as he is from the Dianshan sect, and suggests that he might have been pleased by Jin's courage. Jin says they call him Snake, and it's unlikely that they just give him that nickname. The man asks if Jin is sure everything is okay. He says that he wants to be trained and asks to be trained to the limit, because he is ready. Jin says that the interlocutor is older and asks to speak to him casually. The man tells Sonwoo Jin that he will train him to the point of death and orders him to get ready. Jin says he says that because he hasn't undergone his training. The man explains that only masters of the peak of martial arts should undergo his training, and for them, it's too much. He says that he has already been through all of this in a past life, and now the others will join in this time, explaining that friends should do everything together. Jin says he thought it was a man in front of him, but the man says he apparently doesn't have the courage. He says that he can do everything and expresses distrust of his interlocutor. The man says, and the guy asks if it's true. The guy says he'll show you more and will go through this stupid workout with the man. The man laughs and says he'll join in, but he has a dream. Jin says he's been fighting demonic martial artists with his own techniques, so he doesn't have time to train others. The girl says it's cool. He says that external techniques are needed to destroy demonic martial artists and says that he would like to learn this too. The man asks if he will teach him. The man says he's not joking. Jin says he said something similar to what the guy said during the team tryouts and mentioned wanting to compete with someone who had tougher skin or something like that. The guy says he really did say that. He says that's exactly how it is, even though he lied. Jin says that his goal is to fly and attack a demonic martial artist with a very strong body, and that it would be cool if he could fly like a cannonball and smash them. The guy says it's like a cannonball and asks if it can be broken. Jin says people will call him a meteor with a body of steel or something like that. The man says it's some kind of meteor with a body made of steel. Jin says yes. The next day, Jin says, and says it's nothing special. He says it's nothing because he's been through this before. Jin says it's easy as pie and announces he's first. The man looks at him. A foot steps on a branch which breaks, the man makes a hiccuping sound, then the man asks Jin if he is okay. Jin falls to the ground in the forest. He says, "Oh," and says that maybe it's better to lose a little weight first. A month passed, dawn came. The image shows a shaking hand raised upwards. Jin breathes heavily and tries to hold on to the railing. He says that after leaving the fallen sect, Jin reports that the senior disciple of the Bizong sect has joined the same team as the disciple of the Diankang sect. He reveals that he wasn't asking for much by revealing his identity and knew it would be difficult to get an apology from a first-class swordsman, being a second-class swordsman himself. This man thought that he would at least make me feel guilty about what he'd experienced. He says that and that. Jin says the other person is proud that his elders died because they were too greedy for their own good. He reports that Bi-Se-yeon lost his mind and tried to fight him, but the results were obvious. Life after that didn't change much. Being a second-class fighter, Jin couldn't defeat any demon-like person, let alone Ju Tai-young. The Bizon sect's cultivation technique had been lost, and without the proper technique, one couldn't reach the first rank. Everything was unfair, and he was powerless. Every day passed, but he did not want to be pitied for his weakness. Jin stands with his hands clasped, and the guy next to him looks surprised. The text says he doesn't have a clear goal in mind, until some crazy guy, a second-class guy, joined the team. Jin says the man doesn't look like a fighter, and has been in conflict with Ju Tai-kyung since day one. He says that for Bi-Se-yeon, this guy's crazy behavior was a liberation. The man says it's possible, so Jin says he's agreed to participate in the training. First, it's reported that he says he's going to die the very next day. Then it's explained that he realized he'd done something very stupid. Jin says that if he hadn't agreed, he wouldn't have gone through all this. A man in armor with long hair runs through the forest. He thinks his qigong is better than everyone else's, but in reality he can barely keep up with the team leader. Jin says that one should never give up under any circumstances, and adds that moreover. The man laughs and calls out to Sion. Jin says he's tired after just an hour. The guy says he'll catch up with his interlocutor soon, and he laughs. Jin says he can't lose to him because he carries more equipment but is inferior in skills. He reveals that he is the one who learns the Bijong kick technique from him. He tells Song-woo that he said he never learned any other techniques. Jin reports that he was asked to help just 3 days after starting training. He reports that he offered to teach cultivation techniques in exchange and was the first to recognize Bijan's kick technique. Moreover, Jin reports that he has another reason. He says that you can't lose to him. Once the morning run is over, it's time for cultivation and weapons training. After eating, the boys gather together for external martial arts training. The man stands with a stick over his shoulder, the boy with a ponytail yawns, and Jin sits in a meditative pose. The top right indicates that teammates will take turns sparring in the evening. The bottom right indicates that the same routine will be repeated the next day. The man says they're done, and Jin tells him what happened. He says he's not that far behind today and calls me a good boy. The man reports that he's gained weight again. Jin says he thinks it's because he hasn't trained enough and laughs. The woman explains that the point of training is to show that he's better than he was yesterday. He says it's nothing special, he's nothing compared to the commander. The woman says that Soyo was kind to her, even in her past life when everyone bullied her, calling her a pig, so she fell in love with her. The woman says she's scheduled to meditate. The guy says sure, and the man says okay. The guy says he couldn't confess and prevent her death. Jin says, then says that everything is going smoothly and asks if it is because, as Jung-yeon said, there are many martial artists. Everyone is focused on training. He and the girl are meditating. Everyone was shocked when Jung-yeon said she would join the external martial arts training, and it was probably because of her personality, as she loves competition and challenge. Jin said he wanted to join too. He reports that while he was studying the highest ancient unities of arts and the 13 swords of Songwoo, his learning speed became incomparable to that of his past life. The cultivation technique Sa-young learned gives him wings. It is reported that Jin is studying cultivation techniques and is no longer obsessed with only external arts as he was in his previous life. It is reported that there is a divine indestructible Vajra sect that strives to attain the divine indestructible Vajra through both internal and external training. The man reveals that there is no such sect in reality, explains that what he taught Chong Wong was Shaolin technique, and says that he simply lied a little to keep up his spirit. Jin says that, in any case, if the motivation and the result are good, then everything is fine. 2 months have passed, and he reports that if his memory serves him right, a big event is about to happen. Jin reports that around this time in a past life, 50 demons suddenly attacked them. It is reported that the towering dragon army, having no experience in fighting against large numbers of opponents at once, was defeated. No one understood the connection, but after that incident, the situation on the front lines only worsened. Jin reports that with his current status and fighting skills, I can't predict what will happen or prepare for that future. Jin says he sees everything clearly and explains how it irritates him. The man moves forward sharply. Jin says, "Oh my god," and says he doesn't want to be that popular. The man says that at least among mosquitoes, not women. A man makes a sound of pain or irritation. The guy yells, "Ha!" and delivers a series of quick punches. The sounds of rain can be heard in the background, and many insects are flying around. The woman says that these are 72 swords of destruction, right? And Jin says that there is nothing special about it. The boy asks how strong the first squad leader is. The man explains that the heavenly dash sword technique is no match for their leader, as his nickname includes the word dragon. The man reports that their commander's nickname includes the word monkey and asks if anyone would dare compare a dragon to a monkey. Jin orders them to be silent. The guy says he's weird because he peaked at 20 and should try being human. The woman laughs. The man explains that there's no need to be like that. Their commander has a better personality and longer arms. Jin says, "Why not date him then?" And the man laughs and says that he was rejected again. The woman tells him to shut up because she doesn't love him anyway. The man reacts harshly. The guy speaks quietly. The girl and the woman are next to him. The man says that someone is approaching with a protective transformation. The guy says there are too many of them. A group of zombies with red glowing eyes and open mouths runs forward rapidly. A man with a sword shouts to the vice captain to give the signal. Two men in the distance make sudden movements as Jin quickly strikes. The man says he can't believe what he heard. The man screams, "Damn," and back, trying to push away the attackers. Explosions are happening. The man reports that there are more than 3 of them here. In a clearing in the forest, a group of people with weapons are surrounded by several attackers. A guy jumps on a man with bare hands and claws. The man fights back with a sword. The text states that when a ghostly demon focuses on one thing, it is very difficult to dislodge it from its intended target. A man watches the demon attack. Jin says he can't afford to make a mistake and strikes the creature with his sword. The man suddenly clenches his hand into a fist and slams it into a metal surface. The man reports that the main tactic is working in pairs. One person responds with attention and the other attacks. Jin attacks the opponent. A young man punches a man with dark skin and a damaged face while a woman with a bun on her head watches the action. The man says he didn't expect that. He then grabs the sword hilt. The woman reports that the members of the 6th squad encountered a large number of monsters, which is what they expected. The man reports that the detachment included several people. Jin screams and then says it's the devil. The guy is screaming and the man is asking for help. 2 men scream in horror and despair. Jin says to stick together and not break formation. The guy says that if he can't win, he will die. A man turns sharply to avoid a blow from a monster that is trying to strike him from above. A man makes a thumping sound. The man says he can't believe it happened. Jin stands with a sword in his hand and looks at the 4 creatures approaching. One of the creatures in the foreground, covered in dirt and wounds, moves forward. A man reports a clicking sound. A man delivers a powerful blow to his opponent. The guy punches his opponent, then continues attacking, hitting 2 enemies at once. He lands a powerful punch to the face of one of them. A man delivers a powerful punch to another man. 3 creatures with mutilated bodies and empty eyes tremble and move with difficulty in the forest. The guy reports that there are too many opponents. The man thinks he needs to find something and shouts. Jin says iron body, meteor, and the man shouts, "Ha, diamond flying star." He says they can't let these people escape and explains that if they let them go, they will definitely attack again. A man and a woman with swords are ready to fight to prevent their opponents from escaping. The boy reports that a man has appeared in the forest, killing everyone in sight, and warns that if they aren't careful, they too will die. The woman says they need to be prepared for a fight and stay alert. The man explains that they must stick together and protect each other. Below is the moment the sword strikes. A woman reports that a man has appeared in the forest who shouldn't have been there and warns that he could be dangerous. A girl with a sword says they need to be careful and prepared for a fight. The man adds that they must stick together and prevent the stranger from approaching the village. Jin says he doesn't intend to kill. He stands with his back to 3 approaching creatures with glowing eyes, and the man in front is smiling. The guy quickly fights off the attacking creature. The guy laughs and says that everything was too simple and he coped with it easily. The man says that this is the 7th squad, and thanks to them, the escape route is open. The man says that we need to leave and orders us to run as fast as possible. Jin says to retreat because there are too many of them. He says not to worry, Commander Jungwon, and the man says he has a plan. Jin says brother, and informs that now it's the interlocutor's turn. He announces that he is going to make a cut on his palm. Jin says the devil made him do such crazy things. He strikes the man. Jin delivers a series of quick punches to the opponent's head. He strikes and parries opponent's attacks while moving forward. Three creatures with glowing eyes make ominous sounds. Jin screams as he flees from the creatures pursuing him, which make similar screams. The voice informs him that Jin is a parasite. The guy says that since the medium demons were distracted, that should be enough, and notes that at this level it is impossible to catch him. Jin reports that the other commanders will also arrive soon, as Lady Jungyeon is handling the sword energy, and if the 6th squad helps, they will destroy several of them. The guy says great, and says he'll take the lead. The guy says not to fall behind and follow him. Jin makes a rapid movement accompanied by sound effects. He reports that everyone who attacked is dead, and explains that they were unable to get close to them. The man in the gray cuirass says that it was too easy and that they didn't expect such an easy victory. He explains that they can now safely move on. The man says that a tragedy is about to happen. Jin says all he could do was encourage those around him and focus on training. A man holds a zombie's head, plunging a sword into its mouth, while a girl watches. He reports that he is not giving up. Jin reports that since he opened his eyes again, he has been spending his time wisely. He reports that even today, the man reports that he paved the way through consistent efforts and saved his. After the incident with the invasion of ghostly demons, only Jungwon should have survived, but there were many casualties. A few days later, a group of people walk along a forest path. Jin says even the clothes smelled. He says it's no wonder people don't want to learn, and if it weren't for this terrible ointment, there would have been many fans long ago. The man reports that what follows is the real problem. Jin says that as Se-young said, several people have been watching their external training for the past few days. He reports that after hearing that he and Jungwon tore apart the ghostly demons, people began to perceive external arts in a new light, and not just as brutal force. The man and the boy say that once they start training, most of them leave. There was one person who overcame the barrier and really wanted to learn. The man said they practice all the time and asked to be allowed to try. Jin reports that those around him prevented him from approaching. The man covers his mouth with his hand and makes a noise. The woman laughs. 3 men stand behind them. He says he can't say it looks attractive, to be honest. The woman says Mrs. Dan. The man says, Mrs. Dan. The woman says she's so stunning. The man says to Mrs. Dan. The woman tells Mrs. Dan that she is not at all what they imagined her to be. Jin says that Dan Yo-yoon's beauty makes him admire her every time he sees her, and it seems like the whole world is plunging into darkness, and she becomes the only source of light. He says that this is his subjective opinion, and he would gladly say that their Na Soyo is the most beautiful of all. Jin says that, frankly, to compete with her, you have to be as good as Jaegil Seo-yul if you want to be as beautiful as Dan Yun. The man says it's nice to meet you. Mon Sa-hyun announces that he can finally greet them and introduces himself as the deputy commander of the 3rd squad. Jin says he knows he's late, but he still thought they were wasting their time, but they've proven their training is worth it. He says he wants to apologize for underestimating their efforts. The man says everything is fine, and the guy adds that it's no problem. The man says they're glad he understands that now. The man says that if Jin doesn't want to be noticed, it's best not to go there. Jin says he has no intention of going there. The guy with the scar tells Jin that he is coming. Jin says that she is quite clingy and also possessive, which does not match her appearance, and reveals that he is Myung's second-in-command. He says he didn't expect to see another person in his place. The man says he didn't expect to meet anyone here either and asks who he is. Jin says it's okay and asks them to take care of themselves, and also hopes that next time they can practice together. He laughs and says that he hopes so too. The man says that Myung Sa-hyun is brave enough to loudly declare his love for Dan Yeon and serves as her deputy. Jin says that instead of Dan Yo-yoon, who is difficult to approach as a leader, he actually serves as the squad leader. He says that in his past life, Sa-yoon died at the hands of Dan Yeon, the woman he loved. Dan Yo-yoon reveals that he was forced to kill Myung Sa-hyun, and that after his mind was taken over by the blood demon cult, he broke down. Jin reveals that he later realized that she would become the woman of Ma Yu-gyeom, the commander of the 4th Division, and explains that at the last moment, Ma Yu-gyeom's betrayal plunged her into despair. He thinks about Dan Yen and says that she was not cold and perfect, although she seemed so. The guy asks Jin if he's interested in Dan Yo-yoon and advises him to give up hopeless love. Jin explains that he just wanted to talk. He says that 10 perfumes are coming soon, so he needs her help, but the man asks if he's serious and says that if he loves her so much, then he's content with just talking to her. Jin is surprised. The man says that Songwoo Jin is in love with Mrs. Dan and asks if it's true. Jin nervously denies it. The man exclaims that everyone has heard it and repeats that Songwoo Jin is madly in love with Dan Yo-eun. The woman says she has something to say, but she has no connection to the person in question. The girl denies it and insists it's not true. Jin says that he says he feels nauseous. Jin reports on the night patrol. He says that they are on duty today, so they will go and eat. Jin says stand. The night patrol is always tense. He says it's a chaotic spirit. The demonic heads of the blood cult that prey on core members are reportedly dangerous even to high-level martial artists. A man screams. Jin reveals that their squad is different because they have Soul Pan in them. He reports that everything has been resolved and there are no more anomalies, but he has one crucial flaw. The girl says the commander is the best and so cool. The woman says the commander did a great job today. Jin says he doesn't understand what they mean and that he didn't do anything wrong. The squad leader, Soul Pan, tells us to go, in short, and has difficulties with women, or rather, he is afraid of them. The girl laughs. The man explains that if it weren't for Jin's fear of them, he would be perfect. Jin stands nearby and listens. He says that he overcame this in a past life after someone lost them, and that he will do everything to prevent it from happening again in this life. Jin says that to do this, he needs to deal with him, the cause of everything. He says that the damned snake keeps saying that Soul Pan is not worthy, but he never has the courage to take responsibility. Jin says that the battle with him will be in 2 weeks and asks if he thinks he can handle it. He says he's trying his best. The man replies that it's better to tear him to pieces. Jin says the problem is with his internal Kai, and if he had at least 30 years to accumulate energy, he would be able to use the sword Kai. He says that to use the Chi sword correctly, one must understand it. The young man replies that this is not a problem. Jin reports that Songwoo's mind has already surpassed level 1, but his ki hasn't yet reached that level. The man explains that Songwoo is a rather strange person. He says it's probably a cleanliness issue. The man offers to take it. Jin asks how much external chi he has. The man says that if he takes it, it'll be about half of his total energy. The girl asks what they are talking about and says that she is the only one who doesn't understand anything. He listens. Jin says that if the amount of external ki in the elixir exceeds half of the total, then there is a high probability of ki disturbance. The girl realizes there is a ki deviation. He tells Songwoo that if he takes the elixir now, it will most likely happen. He explains that he actually put off taking the elixir until the last minute. Jin says he planned to first obtain pure ki using the highest primordial martial art, and only accept it after he was sure it was safe. Moreover, he thinks he can handle the middle of the first level in his current state. The girl is silent. The man and woman look surprised. The guy says he didn't understand anything either and had never tried elixirs before. The girl listens. The girl says they are in the same boat and is surprised when she confirms it. The woman says they'll be very busy for the next few days. The man yells "Ka" and clenches his fists. The woman says that first there will be a fight at Songwoo Jin's place, and then a meeting between the blood demons and the alliance leader. Jin says this seems strange, as he's fought demonic practitioners on the front lines before, but he's never heard of such events. He explains that if you think about it, the meeting is reported to have taken place in the 13th Corps and was unusually calm. Jin says it's annoying when the vice captain flatters his superiors. He says that he will order them to get out and turn everything upside down, and also asks why they are doing this in the 13th building. Jin explains that the risk of chi deviation is high if the external chi exceeds half of his chi. He says that the demonic heads of the blood cult, who get most of their chi from absorption, remain alive. Jin says yes. The woman says yes, exactly. The man reports that if they are basically stealing chi from others, then that is indeed the case. He says this. Jin says, why are they still alive? He screams as he attacks a wooden target, while a man stands nearby, watching. A man screams and strikes with a sword. Jin says development happens faster when there is a goal. He says that this is not bad, and now he can undoubtedly consider himself the top of the first rank. Jin thanks him for the advice, and the man doubts that he will lose to a second-rank representative, but warns him not to be content with just not losing. He says he must display overwhelming force worthy of a member of the Dianzong sect. The man replies that he understands. Jin says yes, and tells him that he needs to understand what opportunity he missed. The woman says she can't understand how he dares to refuse Dion Kyung and how he dares to reject her, Ma Yugima, warning that he will still pay. The woman says it's true. The man reports that the inexperienced defeated the chaotic spirit and Jin defeated the blind demonic boy. He reports that Jungyeon defeated the blind demon boy and explains that being second class, he couldn't do anything. Jin says that even though he has more experience, it was Songwoo Jin who distracted the demon to save its life and even forced the demon's mouth open by squeezing its eyes. The woman says she was only doing what he said and then pierced his mouth with the blade's energy. Jin reports that he gathered some information before coming to the front lines and was lucky. The woman asks how he knew that the chaotic spirit's weakness is light. He says that a person who had never encountered demonic people was second class and yet risked his life to approach a demonic person. Jin says that given how little information is released about what's happening on the front lines, he must have done a ton of research. He says there is no need to hesitate anymore and explains that he is still second class, but he is worth raising. Jin says that knowing that chaotic spirits are sensitive to light and being able to force their eyes to open to expose them to light are two different things. He says he likes this man and will take him into the 4th squad. The man explains that they just lost a few members, but everything should be fine. Jin screams that no. He says no. Jin says he's offering to join his squad. He says he can't understand why he's being forced to go with them if he can't help. Jin says he is Captain Seal Pang. He says that he always comes to them, and ever since he began to study the front, he asks to be accepted. The man says that they are turning to him. Jin says that of course it is possible to destroy monsters that are not affected by Kai with your punches and kicks, and since he learned about this, he knew that he should join the party and learn from them. He says that he is the son of the great leader of the Deongchang sect and offers to join the 7th squad, expressing surprise that he might be refused. Jin reveals that he is the 3rd son of the Songwoo clan from Guizhou and still wants to join the losers who came from nameless clans and learned martial arts using trashy methods. A man clenches his fist. Jin says he would love to study physical arts. He says he wants to test the hardness of his flesh against demonic people. Jin says the other person has the right attitude. He says that if he wants to beat demonic humans with his fists, then fine, son of the Songwoo clan. Captain Seal Pang says that he will train his flesh to surpass demonic humans. He confirms this. Jin says that if he can't win, he will die. He says that if he can't find a way to avoid dying, then it's better to die right away. Just the memory makes him angry. The man reports that he's performing well despite only having recently arrived at the front and explains that he should have made sure to get him, even if it meant using his connections. Jin says that now he needs to be made to pay for daring to refuse the offer of the son of the leader of the Deongchang sect. The man says that he will make him experience the power of the Deongchang sect. The man says he needs to be taught a good lesson. Jin replies that he shouldn't worry. He says that he does not intend to leave alive the one who insulted him, and at the same time notes that he is so worried. Jin says not to kill or maim him. The man responds with surprise. He asks if he's shocked. The man replies that he didn't intend to kill his own comrade. The man says no, of course not. But if they really want to teach him a lesson, then there's a scream, after which the man yells, "Ah!" Jin informs him that their mission is to fight the blood cult and reclaim the mountain, and asks if the other man has forgotten about it. The man replies that, of course, he hasn't forgotten. He says that for this purpose they must be ready to cooperate even with scum, and considering that their comrade, needless to say, Jin says he knows the other man is a bastard snake, but he trusts him not to do something so stupid, and asks if he understands. The man replies, yes, of course. He says, shopping center. Jin says to look him straight in the eyes now. He says that, judging by the fact that he can't, he's almost certain that the squad leader wasn't mind-controlled. The man reports that the commander is always like this. Jin tells the captain that mind control could help him, since he needs to get married somehow. The man explains that the captain also doesn't know how to talk to women and asks if he needs mind control too. He says he just doesn't want to talk to girls and has never looked for anyone. Jin says it's true. The man replies that it's natural. The woman says that now let Bai Se-young try and asks him to come up and look into her eyes. He says that he can definitely do it. Jin reports that they're currently checking to see if the men in the squad were enchanted. A man with short blonde hair smiles. A man with long dark hair stands nearby, smiling. A woman with long dark hair listens. The top right corner states that there was already an incident in the 10th Corps where one member was enchanted. The bottom left says that they were therefore given orders to ensure that no member of the 13th Corps was enchanted. In the image, 3 men support another man who appears weakened. From time to time, People would fall under the influence of a bloody cult, which would lead to an even more terrible outcome than the appearance of some monsters, since they had to not only lose a comrade, but also kill him. Jin reports that no way to remove the blood cult's control has yet been found. He tells you to look him straight in the eyes. He confirms this. Jin says to maintain eye contact, not just glance. The woman says, "Seon, where's his courage gone?" He says that he used to tease his interlocutor, but now he thinks that he is no different. Jin says that in any case, this proves that he was not enchanted, and asks, "Right, the deputy commander." He says that since the interlocutor is not able to respond to his point of view, then, in his opinion, everything is fine. Jin explains that you can tell if someone is being controlled by looking into their eyes, and that those who are being controlled lose their sparkle. The man explains that it's only for a moment. Jin says that he looked at it. The girl says that usually girls perform this check because they are more sensitive to changes in their comrades, and explains that all units on the front lines are mixed. The woman says it's Song Woo Jin's turn now. Jin asks himself if he should look into her eyes and says that he could look like that all day long if he wanted to. The man says he'll see how confident he is, and he wishes him luck. Jin explains that this is a rare chance to look her in the eye and says he'll take the moment to get a good look at her face. The man asks what he means. The woman says she has puppy dog eyes and a knowing smile, as if she's telling you everything is okay, and also explains that she has a face that could heal any broken heart. Jin says he can't believe it, and the man says it's true. The girl explains she's known about it for a long time. The man laughs and says that a person can't blush like that, and asks her to forgive Jin for getting so tense. He explains that he blushed before he even looked at her and says that he was so embarrassed. The woman says she doesn't even need to check Jin's eyes, and that she didn't think anyone would have a worse reaction than the squad leader. Jin reacts with surprise and fear. He says there's no need to check his eyes, and asks me not to do it. He screams and holds his head. The woman tells Song Woo Jin not to force herself, and asks him to forgive her for joking with him. Jin replies that no, he says it was a chance to stare at her as much as he wanted. A woman asks the deputy commander if he checked Jin's eyes. He reports, by the way, a girl and a man are sitting at a table. Jin says that he has never seen her full face, even though they spent a lot of time together, and explains that the last time he asked, she said she had a scar, so she hides her face. He says that if it's true, then it seems like they shouldn't force her, and explains that for some reason it seems like she's hiding something. The woman says she saw her face, but she had no choice but to hide it. Jin asks, "Why this?" He says that if she hadn't done it, there would have been a big fuss. Jin says, "Eh?" He informs them that this time it's not just a spider spirit that has appeared, but that all the highest-ranking martial artists are participating in the mission, and warns them to be careful. The man thanks them and says he'll be on guard. The spider spirits become stronger by consuming blood, and the spider spirit that drank the blood of 5 people is heading towards them. It is reported that he did not use a reinforced ki, but his physical capabilities are almost at the level of an early peak martial artist, while his intelligence increased with each victim, making him difficult to detect. Jin asks what the two are planning to do. The girl says they're going to train near the barracks. He says he is tired and breathing heavily. The voice says that in her past life, Jung died around this time, but now she's in their squad and accompanies Jong-yeon on the shoya. Jin says that one shouldn't go alone into dangerous places like the forest, and that one should be on guard while the commander is away, but he also notes that extra caution doesn't hurt. The girl says not to worry, it's him, and thanks him for looking after them. Jin says he won't interfere this time, as it's a matter between them. The man explains that if Jin doesn't interfere, they can talk calmly. The woman says they should resolve the matter themselves. He says that this is the deputy leader of the Ford squad, Mei Yokun. The woman reveals that Miss Mei Yokun is the person she is keeping an eye on, just like Ma Yogyom or Tianyo. Jin reveals that she was previously killed by a spider spirit, causing Ma Yogyom to break down, and even after collecting blood, he can't help but worry. He asks who Ms. Mei is looking for. The woman reports that one of their squad members is named Song Haran and explains that she has been keeping an eye on her because she seemed heavily burdened by recent events, but today she cannot find her. Jin says that if he sees Song Haran, he will tell him that they are looking for her. The man thanks him. The guy informs that Song Haran is the fiancée of Zhong, who died from the twin sides of the 7 misfortunes. Jin informs her that she's been having problems ever since he heard about it. The man asks if she's lost her fiancé. The guy tells Jin that not long before his arrival, he died in a battle with the twins of the Scythe of 7 misfortunes, and adds that they were so close. It is reported that the rules of the front are quite simple, and it is a common occurrence at the front to lose a loved one and soon meet another. Jin says he understands and is sorry. He reveals that in his past life, he went into the forest to console a squad member and was killed in an attack. Jin says it works and asks what happened. He reports that he was told something again, even without sleep. The man says it's strange. Jin says he has a bad feeling about this and that he thinks they need to look for Song Haran. 3 men are climbing down trees in a forest. One of them asks if he's sure there are enough of them. Jin says he was scared. The man says not really, but the forest has been dangerous lately. He says that the 2 of them can easily deal with a horde of cunning spirits, and tells what they say about a spider spirit in the eastern forest. Jin calls out to Son Haran and asks if he's here. He says to split up and keep distance from each other while they search. Jin screams, "Kya ya ya ya." He shouts forward and runs. The man runs after him. Jin expresses surprise. The man says there is a horde of cunning spirits there. The man reports an invulnerable dash, and Jin screams. A man delivers a powerful punch. Jin screams while unleashing a series of rapid strikes on his opponents. He runs forward while 2 opponents fall back from the blow. Jin says it's too late. The man says she would have survived if they had been a little faster. He says it's terrible. Even if there were crowds of cunning spirits here, the man says that it is really possible that she could have been so badly wounded in such a short period of time. Jin says he can't do it. He says that these are fang marks and expresses disbelief, asking if this is really true. The man tells Jongwon to go back and says they need to escape right now. Jongwon responds with a question. Jin says we need to leave because there's a spider spirit nearby. He says he can't believe it happened and that he didn't expect such a turn of events. Jin explains that the creature is not human, but an animal that lives in the forest and feeds on carrion, and explains that it poses no danger. The man says that if it is not dangerous, then they can leave it alone. The image contains no speech bubbles. The character is silent and in a pose reminiscent of an animal, with wide eyes and sharp claws. Jin says, "Damn." The man remains silent. A man lets out a piercing scream. Jin says she was screaming to lure them in. The man reports on the count of 3. A man says 1, he says 2. Jin says 3. At the same time, 2 men run. The image shows the sound of an impact or collision, accompanied by an explosion or violent impact. The text conveys the sound of this action. 3 people run forward, and behind them rushes a creature with long claws and a tail. Jin tells us what to do and suggests splitting up. He says that the spider spirit is comparable to him in speed, but not as fast as Bise Yan, and if they split up, 2 of them will get out, but 1 will definitely be left behind. Jin says that this someone, after 9, 2 men are running, and a man with short hair tells them to run. He says he will distract him. The man asks her to survive for him and not die. Jin says he did the same in his past life. The man smiles and says the same thing, sending away the 2 weak and lonely Jin. He reports that no one could have thought that he would see this face again. Jin says that he must remain level-headed and reassures Sunwoo Jin. The man reports that the cunning spirits have almost caught up with them and that the 3 of them cannot survive. Jin says it's inevitable. The guy tells Jin that they are leaving cunning spirits for him. He tells him not to worry about them and to run quickly. Jin tells Cyan to go. He'll deal with the spider spirit. Cyan asks in surprise what? He says he can't understand why the other person doesn't want to talk to him. He explains that he doesn't intend to hurt them and asks for a chance. The man says he can't believe it happened. The image contains no speech or text. It shows a hand clutching a sword, with bloodstains on the skin and weapon. Jin tells San to go and bring the commander here, otherwise he will die. Several people with disfigured faces make ominous sounds. The boy screams, defending himself from the attackers. He calls Sa-young forward and orders him to bring the squad leader to save Jin. Jin says, "Ah," with tears streaming down his face. He says not to dare die in front of him and threatens to come to hell for them. Jin says that if someone commits suicide for such a stupid reason, he will never forgive them, even after his death. He screams as he attacks the monster, which lets out a piercing cry. Jin screams, and the man jumps on him screaming. He shouts a spell. The man finds himself surrounded and attacked by multiple purple energy bands. The clawed man delivers a powerful blow, causing a powerful whirlwind and a cry of pain. Jin runs in a jump, and the man screams in pain or fear. A man makes a sound that expresses fear or shock. Jin says that no matter how strong your body is, if you don't have martial arts, you won't be able to see through his illusion blade style. A man steps on a log. Jin walks away with a sword in his hand, and a man with a disfigured face and body looks after him, expressing surprise. He says it's the devil. He says that if the creature loses interest in him, it will go to Chungwan. The man says that he is holding up for now, but he alone cannot cope with the insidious spirits and explains that his strength is not infinite. Jin says he can't let the spider spirit attack Zhongwang and yells for someone to come over. A man says he can't die. Jin says he can't afford to die here. He screams as he attacks a creature with white eyes and green hair. The creature tries to defend itself from the blow. The monster screams and rushes forward, while another monster jumps behind it. Jin reveals that he survived thanks to an evasion technique taught to him by Sayoung, and explains that if Sayoung brings the squad leader here before he dies, he will call him Big Brother. He screams. The guy hits the creature on the right, which flies back. Two men are screaming. A man runs and delivers a powerful blow to his opponent. The man says he can't breathe and asks to wait. Jin says that Yungwon is slowing down and must be tired, and also says that he doesn't know how long he can last. He says that even if Sion manages to bring the commander, he is not sure that he will last. Jin reports that the opponent's physical abilities are at the highest level, and the ki enhanced by the sword has difficulty penetrating the skin. He explains that the eyes and mouth are weak points, but he can't find a way to hit them. He says that he won't even have a chance to swing his sword, and if the enemy catches up with him, he will die immediately. Jin says it's better to encounter a chaotic spirit at night, but he happened to encounter one in the middle of the day. He says stop and asks if there is a connection with the time of day. They say there is a rocky mountain not far from this forest. Jin says it's a risk, but it could be a way out. He runs along a forest path, pursued by three creatures. Jin reports that he has caught the monster. He runs towards a naked monster who screams in pain. Jin dodges the large creature's attack and prepares to counter. He moves forward rapidly with a weapon in his hand. A man screams. The man delivers a powerful blow, cutting his opponent into pieces. Jin says, "We'll try." He fights two opponents, repelling their attacks with his sword. Jin screams. The woman delivers a quick and powerful blow with her hand surrounded by fiery energy. The image shows a creature with white eyes and an open mouth rushing forward. A man is stabbed in the back. There are no speech bubbles in the image. The character is standing with a sword on his shoulder and looking back. Jin strikes, piercing one of the attackers. A man lets out a piercing scream. The monster makes hoarse sounds and falls down. Jin delivers a powerful blow that knocks the opponent back. He moves quickly with his sword in hand, noticing an approaching figure in the distance. The image contains no text or speech, making it impossible to describe actions or communication. Only an arch leading into a dark tunnel or cave is visible. Jin runs out of the cave, followed by a screaming creature. He runs holding a sword in his hand. Jin says he is tired. Two identical screams are heard in a dark cave. Jin reports that chaotic spirits are active at night, while spider spirits are active during the day. He says this means that spider spirits are highly dependent on sight. It is reported that if there is no light, they will have to rely on their sense of smell. Jin says cough and cough, then cough again. He's reporting now. The man says that he can't see me yet, but he can't either. Jin tells him to stay calm and focused, and also remembers how he trained in feeling with the squad leader. He talks about the need to sharpen all your senses. Jin says he only has one chance, and he will aim at the moment the enemy attacks him to sense his movements. He says to take your time and feel his location, his actions, and his form. Jin says to feel the flow of the environment. Drops of blood fall on the ground. Jin reports that he hears a loud sound. He speaks now and prepares to attack, holding his sword intently, surrounded by blue light. Jin delivers a powerful blow with his sword, from which a bright light emanates. He screams. Jin screams, then reports that it worked. He says he's laughing. A man clenches his fist. Jin says it's not the time to stand there like a statue. A man stands surrounded by four creatures and prepares for battle. The man shouts, "Chungwan." The man says it's Jin. Jin is running with a stick in his hand. He says, "It's time to go." The guy screams that they are bastards, and the girl repeats that they are fucking bastards. Jin says thanks for surviving, idiots. The man thanks Jin for bringing squad leader Se-young here. He says that if they can't find a way out, they'll have to go back. The man explains that they can't go back because it's dangerous. Jin emerges from the cave holding a sword in his hand. He says it's incredible and explains that who would have thought that he would destroy the spider spirit while only being second in the ranking. Jin tells the commander that he has a request for him. He says he wants to keep this incident between them because others won't believe he was able to defeat the spider spirit on his own, and he doesn't want to build a reputation for himself yet, given his limited skills. Jin says that means he won't receive recognition or awards. The man replies, okay. He says that it is enough for him to simply survive with the members of his squad. Jin informs them that they can get lost in the forest if they are not careful, and explains that they need to pay close attention to the road and navigate by the stars. He shouts to the commander, calls for the commander, Solpan. Jin says, you can't move. He reports that he is ready to fight. Jin says he can't believe this happened and tells him that everything will change forever. He states that he cannot afford to lose and explains that if he falls, it will all be over. Jin says he can't die. A man says he was burned alive. Jin says, ah. He says he can't believe this happened and explains he doesn't know what to do next. The man says he needs to stay calm and find a way out of the situation. Jin says it's just a dream. He reports that the squad leader must be training today too. Jin says no one could have imagined that he would dream about that incident again. He explains that the nightmare is a memory from his past life, a time when his loved ones disappeared one after another, and that this memory could recur. He says he thought he was doing his best to cope in this life. He explains that he ultimately saved a friend he could have lost and is training to reach the pinnacle of martial arts. Jin says that may not be enough. The man says that the spirit of steel will appear soon, then the spirit of the viper. Jin reveals that he survived in his past life thanks to the sacrifice of his comrades and explains that each demon was merely a byproduct for the creation of the blood demon. In 5 years, a blood demon with the pinnacle of combat skills will appear, and in 2 years, the front will fall. The blood cult disregarded all treaties and continued its expansion. Jin reports that he remembers nothing after this, having died right on that front. He discusses whether the blood cult will prevail or whether the alliance will defeat them. He says that no matter what happens in the future, all he can do is train, and that's why he focuses on his studies every day. The man says that every time he has another nightmare, he asks himself if he is doing enough. Jin says, of course not. There were 2 days left until Jin's battle with Ju Tae-gyung. The woman reports that they are going on patrol today and explains that she wanted to train more. The woman says it's a shame it didn't work out during the day and says she never thought she'd say that. The woman says that when they decided that she had to go to the front, she thought that it was the end for her. It is reported that this was the year when Soya turned 7. Her mother died and her father's new wife took control of the entire family. A woman tells him to go to the front. The text states that she shared the children but hid it well from her husband. The woman says she cannot send their precious boy, who is supposed to continue the family line, because he might die in the battle. The woman says she's asking if he'll make a sacrifice for their family. The woman says it was painful, but she thought she had to, and that she had to sacrifice herself for her father and family. Jin says yes, mother. The woman knew that she would die if she went, but she could not refuse, as she was too accustomed to obeying and being submissive. So almost died on her first patrol. The guy says that we need to split up and look for traces, and Jin says that the spider spirit should be nearby. He says he didn't expect to see anyone alive here. He reports that this place has been abandoned for a long time and is dangerous. Jin says these are bite marks from a spider spirit. The guy reports that he is somewhere nearby and needs to give a signal to warn the team. A woman reports a trap. Jin reacts to a sudden attack from above and warns of a trap. The man says it's a demon's head. The woman looks up in surprise and fear, sweating and reacting tensely to something sudden. A man reacts to something with surprise, then notices a body. The man says, oh, and then says the girl is very cute. The man says he likes the girl's face and that he will take her home to enjoy it all night. The man reports that he is in pain. Jin grabs the man's face. The man suddenly strikes Jin. He kicks the man. The man falls back and screams. The man screams who and says he can't believe they dare touch him. Jin expresses surprise. The man in red punches the man in gray. A man delivers a powerful punch forward. The woman asks what happened and says she thought she was going to die. Jin says there is silence. The man shouts, asking if she is hurt. The woman says she can't believe this is happening and asks not to leave her alone. The man reaches out to the woman. Jin says everything will be fine. He is silent, standing over the man lying on the ground. Jin says that the girl is probably paralyzed by the acupuncture technique and asks her to wait until he removes it. The woman says she's very glad he came and explains that he can always count on her help. He silently holds the woman by the shoulders. The woman says he's finally here. Jin says he couldn't help but come. The woman reports that at that moment she forgot her fear and laughed with relief. The man laughed next to her. First, it is reported that he was later chosen as the commander of the newly formed 7th Squad. Then the girl explains that, although she experienced many hardships following him, she can confidently say, The man says these are the happiest moments of his life. The woman says that even if tomorrow she has to part with her life. The image contains no text or speech. A group of people is walking through the forest. Jin says that after training, his muscles grew and he became heavier, so he can't move as fast as before. He reports that he has no problems at all. The woman says he's been looking much better lately. The woman says the guy only flatters people and she doesn't trust him. Jin says he's serious. A woman says there will be a lot of work this year. A man says that this is good, and he says that he's also happy about it. The man says, Bai Yung-won. The woman says that women don't like things to be too obvious, and it's important to show your feelings with hints. The man nods. Jin speaks now. He says he seems thoughtful lately and something is bothering him. The woman says that the others probably think it's because of the duel, and explains that his silence is ruining the mood of the whole group. Jin says, and Jong-yeon, our conversation earlier, he says, ugh, and the girl asks if it's true. The woman says that at first she thought that Sunwoo Jin and Jong-yeon were dating, or at least had feelings for each other, because Jong-yeon followed him to the 7th squad. He says he noticed it too, but when he saw Yeon's expression, he felt embarrassed about his thoughts. The girl asks if he's serious. Jin says she's right. The woman asks he says he likes Sunwoo. The girl and Jin express surprise. The woman tells him he's a member of the squad and can be trusted, and the girl says she likes him too. The woman explains that he looks quite attractive since he lost weight, but that's not what they meant when they said they liked him. Jin says that he knows what the other person means, but he still loves Sungwoo Jin in a romantic sense. He speaks seriously, and the man explains that the girl seemed so unperturbed when he confessed his love to Mrs. Tang. Jin says he's showing interest, but it doesn't sound like love. The man listens. He says it's closer to. Jin says that when she started falling in love with him, he was still a round thing, and she likes round and soft things, but her feelings for him haven't changed even though he looks different. The girl says that perhaps it's because she's begun to see something more important than appearances, and asks why he hasn't done anything yet. He says that nothing can be done here. Jin tells him to look at him. The man orders him to show his true face or try to get closer to him than he is now. He says he's content to just watch him, then asks why. The woman and the girl are silent. The woman says she doesn't know how to help after hearing this and doesn't understand what to do. The man reports that there are trees in this forest that can absorb energy. Jin stops abruptly. The others follow him, watching closely what is happening. He says there is something here. The man in red suddenly rushes forward with a shout. In the distance, a group of people watches the scene. Jin punches a man. The man screams, "Ah!" and asks for help. Jin says he can't believe this happened and reports that the situation is getting out of control. The man reveals that he lives deep in the forest and explains that he is not a monster, but simply a man from the Meow people. The woman reports that the old man is coughing up blood. The man explains that their rescuer is essential. Without him, everyone will die, and asks for help. The woman asks the reason why they were able to remain safe, even when other people were being kidnapped because of the old man, and says that he is now in danger and coughing up blood. The woman asks if this is related to a key imbalance. Jin explains that he may have encountered problems during his martial arts training. He says he came here to ask for help. The guy says that he is their savior. Without him, his brother and sisters will die, and asks to save them. Jin says that this man is lying and asks if anyone else thinks otherwise. The man says that the Meow people could live in a forest filled with demonic creatures without knowing martial arts, by the way. The man says he's not lying, and the scent given by the master makes all the monsters run away, and without it, everyone will die. Jin says smell and asks what other smell. The man says he is the one the monsters hate, and explains that if he smells just right, the monsters won't come. The man clutches a small bag in his hand. Jin looks at him in surprise. The woman tells the commander to go forward. The commander responds with a question. Jin says the scented pouch is reason enough to go there and adds that there's something else. The man asks what he's even talking about. The man says there's no point in stepping into a trap because the bag might be fake, and explains that even if it isn't, there's no point in using a scent that repels demonic creatures. Jin says the squad leader reported that the people live deep in the forest, meaning they know the area. He explains that at some point they'll need to dig deeper. The man says that this is nonsense and explains that the Blood Cult and the Alliance have made an agreement that cannot be easily broken. He confirms this. Jin says that they did have a peace treaty, and that's probably why they're being attacked by demonic creatures every day. He says he didn't expect his interlocutor, a disciple of the Dianzong clan, to say such a thing. The man sharply asks if he's laughing. The man says he assumes the other man wants to rot here or has forgotten that his clan plans to attack the blood cult and reclaim their mountain. The man expresses surprise. The man asks how long it will take to get there. Jin says one day, if we speed up. He says that time is short and there is no guarantee that they will be able to help, so it is too risky to go. The man reports that this is a clear case of going beyond the designated patrol zone and explains that punishment may follow. Jin says he's not going to ask her to go with him. The man reacts sharply by asking what. He says that a small group is enough and offers to go with Seonu to take turns carrying the man. Jin says that if we are talking about going outside the patrol zone, he asks if it's full of demonic creatures, right? The man asks if there are those who steal essence to become stronger and explains that they hide and then ambush, like spiders. The man says yes, there are, and says that they are dangerous, very scary. Jin says that everything is clear and suggests going to the elimination. He says that it is their direct responsibility. Jin says that she is as fast as Bisa Yun and Sunwoo Jin, so she won't be a burden. He speaks accurately. The man says that with him they are in good hands. Jin says that he needs to take care of the others, deputy commander, and apologizes for burdening him with all the management responsibilities. The woman says, take care of yourself, and says she will wait. Jin reveals that he can't hide his feelings any longer and wants to confess. He says to remember this before you set out on your journey. The man says that even if Jin is tired, he will not postpone the duel, and asks if Jin is trying to escape in this way. He says that a duel with his interlocutor means nothing to him compared to this mission, and asks if he dreams about it, while warning not to frighten him. The man screams, expressing great surprise. Several people are running on a path in the forest. The man says it's so fast, and Jin says it's cool. He agrees to this and says that he is surprised how he is so cheerful when he is carried around like a sack, and explains that he is too frivolous a person. Jin says that the Miao people came to them in their previous life, but then they refused to listen to their request. Nothing much had changed since then, so he thought it was just a regular meeting. It is reported that soon a viper spirit appeared, which touched the demonic man and poisoned 20 fighters from the 13th detachment, and so also suffered. The text says this happened when Solpan went to rescue her. A man with a sword looks at the approaching demon. Even the doctor of the 13th squad, and Dan Yen, did not. It is reported that, with many of his allies dead, Solpan went into the forest alone, and Lady Dan advised him to look for the cure where it all began. 2 days later, Solpan returned with the antidote, supported by the Miao people, and saved several people. It is said that the lady did not wait for his return, and when Solpan returned, it was too late. Jin reveals that the incident has changed them all, explaining that the squad leader has become cold and cruel, while he is focused on training, wanting only revenge. It is reported that Solpan became known as a berserker, a storm, a soaring dragon, and his martial arts reached the highest level of the first rank. Jin isn't sure if this is the same person who helped the squad leader back then, but he thinks that if there's a chance, it's worth a try. He says that he is leading because it is night, forest, and off-road, and explains that he knows many poisons, so he asks to follow him. Jin says, at least the stars are bright. He tells Saiyan to try moving with his eyes closed, like the squad leader does. Jin says he's busy and has even more training now, and asks if it will work. The man tells them to come closer and says that a viper lives here, urging them to be quiet. He and the other men stand behind him. 5 people are walking through the forest at night. Jin says, oh, and the man shouts that. He says that if he can't pull the sword out, he will die, and if he pulls it out, whoever pulls it out will die. The man in red takes the sword and says that he will pull it out. He says that the sword shouldn't have been there. Jin says it's a 3-headed snake and asks if that's where the poison comes from. He says he doesn't see. The man says no one but the old man could do this, calling it incredible. Jin asks if these snakes are common here. The man tells that further on there is a poisonous forest where other poisonous creatures live, and explains that there is a large swamp there where the Miao people do not go. Jin says that the forbidden place means that they live in such a dangerous environment, and since the blood demon cult started hunting, Miao apparently had no choice but to hide. He says that the reason why demons don't go there is because of the amount of poison, because demons can't stand the smell of that poison, and he confirms that the old man said so. The man reports that the monsters will release poison later and says that we need to be careful. Jin says he can't understand why he doesn't want to go with him. The man explains that he can't go because he has things he can't put off. He says that this old man seems to be well informed about demonic people and wonders if he is. The man says that when they leave this place, they need to be more careful, because if they let down their guard, snakes and insects will recognize them and bite them immediately. Jin says he's worth learning from. The man says that's true, and if they had come here unprepared, they would have gotten into trouble. He says it's only a few hours' walk, but he understands that the reason they only patrol up to this point is because of the poisonous forest. The man says they need to stop. Jin explains that something is moving ahead. He says he doesn't know what the noise is, and the man says it's better not to know. Jin says he senses a centipede that is larger than a man watching them from afar, and the man asks what it is, and Jin repeats that it is larger than a man. He thinks that it can't be, that it's a hovering centipede that can fly by pushing off with its tail, but he immediately denies this thought. The man explains that she's not particularly dangerous because she hits the ground with her tail and kicks up high. He explains that she's very intelligent, recognizes humans, and that he used to give her food, which is why she hasn't attacked since. Jin says that a centipede that can recognize people is dangerous enough. The man asks, "What's the most dangerous thing here?" The man says that if you go deeper, there are palm-sized wasps that fly in groups, and one bite and you're dead. The man says he's never seen one, but he's heard of a spider with a human-like face and of a red-bodied creature in a swamp, a large snake. Jin says that the emperor wasps, the human-faced spider, and the blood viper are all real, then asks where they went. He asks if a dragon or something like that lives here. The man says that he has never heard of such a thing. Jin says it's a relief. The guy says it's so dangerous here and explains that the Black Panther feeds on poison. The man explains that her claws and fangs themselves emit poison, and that the large, fast spear is useless because it bounces off. Jin says he thinks it's her, and the man responds with a question. He, the man in red, the man with the spear, the man in blue, the man in gray, and the man in blue stand together and look forward. Panthers move in the dark, their eyes glowing. The man says that she shouldn't be here, usually lives deep in the forest, and asks to wait, to stand still. A group of people stand in the forest. One of them throws a piece of meat towards an animal. The panther looks closely at a piece of meat. The sound of impact is accompanied by the appearance of a panther with glowing yellow eyes. A clawed paw crushes a piece of meat with force. Jin says they seem to smell better than meat. He says it's because they didn't apply the herbs to their skin. Jin says it's a shame he lost weight. The man explains that he wanted to use Jin as bait. He says he figured it out quickly. The man replies that he would have run away faster and repaid the debt. Jin says he's coming. A large dog runs ahead, followed by 5 people. He rushes forward with a clenched fist, preparing to strike. A panther-like creature roars and attacks a man in red clothing, striking him. The man attempts to defend himself by raising his hand. Jin punches the beast that is attacking him. He says the panther blocked the squad leader's attack. The panther moves its paw sharply and growls. Jin delivers a powerful punch to the opponent's head. He says it's not just a stone, but an ancient artifact that could change the course of history. Jin fights off the panther that attacks him and knocks it back with a powerful blow. He says he didn't expect this to happen. The image contains no text or speech, only a large black panther-like animal with yellow eyes raising its paw. Jin pushes off the ground sharply, dodging the panther's attack. He says that if he can't find a way, he will die. The girl tells him that he shouldn't think like that. A man screams as he is attacked by a large creature. The guy delivers a powerful blow to the bear's face. Jin strikes down with his sword. The man in the blue cuirass jumps forward with his weapon in hand. The girl in red runs away from the attacking beast, and another man stands with his sword, watching what is happening. He raises his sword above his head, preparing to attack, and the man next to him also raises his weapon. A large black panther with yellow eyes roars and advances in front of them. The top panel depicts 2 large animals leaping toward Jin, who dodges the attack. In the bottom panel, Jin and another man with a sword express surprise and speak to each other, uttering exclamations. He strikes, sending the black dog flying back. Jin dodges the sword-wielding girl's attack by taking a sharp step to the side. He and the man with swords are ready to fight when a large cat approaches them. The Black Panther moves forward cautiously. The image has no text or speech, but shows a close-up of a black panther. Jin reports that the beast that appeared is a black panther. He says it looks like she's backing down. Jin says that it turns out that this monster was real and not an illusion, and adds that it is amazing. He says he doesn't care about the existence of such a monster, but the fact that he was around them is truly amazing. The image contains no text or speech. It shows a group of 5 people walking along a forest path. Jin says he tried to learn as much as he could from Dakam and reports that along the way he collected all the possible cleansing herbs that repel demons, explaining their properties, and he did not speak very eloquently, but he gave the essence clearly, so it was not difficult to understand. By the time they arrived at the place where Dakan lived, dawn had begun. Jin says that at this rate they can return in about 6 hours. The man confirms this. He says that even if they move slowly, catching poisonous creatures along the way, they should arrive in about 8 hours. The man asks if he means to say that all three of them remembered the route they took in the middle of the night. Jin says the route wasn't difficult. The man says that since they'll be returning on their own, it's no wonder they remembered the route. The girl asks, what difference does that make? He reports that he is angry. The man explains that this is his home and that they are waiting. Jin and the other man listen. The man tells the elder that he has brought people who can help, and he reports that they are already on their way. The guy shouts Dakan, and the girl says that Dakan is back. The woman asks Dakam where he was, and Dakam replies that he was bored. The man says that Jin disappeared all night, leaving the children in this state, and asks what this nonsense is about people who will help. He says, hello, sir, and informs that they have come at Dakam's request to help. The man asks who they are, and clarifies that they are the same scoundrels from the Dragon Corps. Jin says to remove them immediately. He says they are bastards. It's disgusting to even look at them, and warns that they came here in vain. There is nothing for them here, so they need to leave. An object breaks. A sound of impact is heard. A man shouts, Elder. The man says these people have come to help. The other man orders them to shut up and says he told them not to do such senseless things, and also explains that even if he were dying, he would never accept help from bastards like them. Jin runs towards the group, where abandoned objects are falling. He says he doesn't understand what this old man is saying. The man in red is silent, the girl in blue says something, and the guy in blue expresses bewilderment. The man says he's very sorry and didn't think it would turn out like this, and also says they came here to see him, and he doesn't even know how to apologize to them. Jin stands nearby and listens. He says they will pretend to enjoy the show, and the man says he doesn't look like a dying old man. On the contrary, he is full of life. Jin says that if they need help again, they can come, but they can ask for something in return. The man replies that, of course, he will always help them and promises to do so. He says that from the very beginning he needed to figure out where to get herbs for making antidotes and information about the inner jungle, and by simply writing off the debt to this guy, he achieved his goal. Jin says that if they leave now, they will arrive early. The man remains silent. The guy in brown clothes speaks to the commander. Jin says that if he's not mistaken, that guy is the clan leader's son. The guy says he didn't expect to meet Jin here. He says he thinks there was a misunderstanding. The man shouts that there is no misunderstanding and orders them to get out of here, damned nobodies. Jin says he is from the Soaring Dragon Corps, but not the martial artist type, and explains that they didn't come to take anything, but to help. The man says that the interlocutor should not talk nonsense and is a scoundrel. He explains that he is one of them and declares that he is not orthodox. What nonsense. And also says that the interlocutor can, with the same success, bark and then say that he is not a mangy dog. Jin says that in that case, let's make a bet. If he can prove that he is not orthodox, then they will let him help him. The man says that, what? Jin says he takes this as consent and will come closer. He says the squad leader is an orthodox martial artist. The man says he doesn't know much either and has never heard of his clan. Jin doubts that anyone knows the true identity of the squad leader, not only B.A. Seyon, but also no one from the Corps. The man says that on the day everyone died and the front line collapsed, he saw the true identity of the squad leader for the first time and clearly remembers the crimson eyes and terrifying fighting skills. A man says someone has red eyes and starts asking what it means. Jin says he doesn't understand why the other person is in the Soaring Dragon Corps. The man reports that the body is already cold and beyond treatment, and he explains that a cure must be found urgently, otherwise everyone will die. The man explains that there is a cure, but it is very expensive and difficult to obtain. He says he is willing to pay any price and asks for help. The man reports that. A man takes a skeleton by the hand. Jin apologizes and says that with his abilities, he can't do anything about the man's condition. The man says that even he, who has dedicated his entire life to studying poisons and martial arts, is powerless and asks what people like him can do. Jin apologizes to Dakan for his abilities not meeting expectations, and Dakan asks him not to say that. The man says he can't believe he's actually dead. He explains it's impossible because he saw him alive yesterday. Jin says it's time to go. The man and Jin listen to him. He says his personality and nature are very strange. He asks if he will hide everything, even from the kids. The man reveals that he is actually from a cult of blood demons. Jin says he's from a blood cult and then exclaims he can't believe it. He says his deep knowledge of demons and hatred of the Orthodox make it seem like he might be a retired demonic martial artist. The man says that if Takam's words are true, then for unknown reasons he's been helping the Miao people for a very long time. The guy shouts at the commander, demanding to know what this means, and asks if he is really one of these. Jin says that he apologizes to Se Young and explains that, thinking about Takam and the children, he just couldn't tell him that. He says that if they can't handle this, everyone will die. The man in the hat says he can't believe this happened. He explains that they now need to act quickly and decisively. The man in red says he's ready to help. Jin calls his interlocutor a bloody cultist and says that the commander may like it, but he will never forgive people like him. The man says they made a mistake and asks for forgiveness, while the other man asks for mercy for Jin. The man says that Orthodox people destroy demonic people as soon as they see them to satisfy themselves, regardless of whether the children die or not, and laughs at the idea of exterminating demons and eradicating evil, calling it stupid. Jin says, "Shut up, demon," while making a sharp thrust with his sword. The man asks to forgive them, and the girl begs not to kill the elder, calling him a great hero. The man calls Jin a bloody cultist and accuses him of laughing at the Orthodox, asking what right he has to do so. The man says that he has lost everything and cannot mock them, calls them hypocrites who deserve at least a good beating, and warns that it will not end with mockery, he will destroy them. Jin says he's giving the order to approach and explains that he might not be in the best shape, but knocking down people like his interlocutor is no problem for him. He says okay and says that he will fulfill the wish. The man shouts that he will grant the wish and raises his sword, trying to strike, but several people try to hold him back. The boy shouts that he is a hero, and the girl says no, he is a hero. The girl and the boy say, "Brother." Jin says, "Gee." He closes his eyes. Jin grips the hilt of his sword tightly. Bisai-yon reveals that he is a disciple of the Bijong sect. He says that hiding behind children's backs is low, and that he is not surprised that Bisai-yon is the head of the demonic cult. Jin says he will forget today's events and pretend he never saw his interlocutor here. The man says he doesn't know what this place is. Jin says Bizong is from Guangxi, but the old man says it doesn't matter. A man reports a bloody massacre in Muquan. Jin says he can't believe his ears and asks how another person dares to mention this incident. The man says he lost his family and everything he had to the Gyangchang sect and the Orthodox factions, and therefore has no regrets about seeking revenge. The old man says that if Jin is a descendant of those who died in the Muquan massacre, then he can kill him. He says he doesn't understand what we're talking about. The man reveals that he was the one who planned everything, acted together with Muguan, and was the one who exterminated. Jin says he can't let anyone get hurt because of him and says he's not going to give up. Jin then expresses surprise and asks what's going on. He says he doesn't understand what's going on and asks what's going on, and the man in red expresses confusion and asks if this is really Jin's doing. Jin says that his version of events is not important and he does not want to be understood, and then asks to simply kill him and satisfy his thirst for revenge. He tells the other person to shut up and that it's up to him to decide whether to understand him or not, and then demands to know what happened that day. Seok Kyungdal reveals that he is the former chief clerk of the Cheon estate of the Yunnan Orthodox sect. Jin reveals that he was very close to the Cheon family's head, Muguang. The Cheon estate's chief clerk, Seok Kyungdal, and the Cheon estate's head, Cheon Muguang, had long pursued a common dream. He speaks of the need to restore an art lost 100 years ago. He explains that he is one of the 10 best swordsmen, Cheon Pyoseong, and his original martial art is the lightning sword. The man reports that they've been trying to recover this technique for years. He explains that Mugun once discovered his ancestors' secret training chamber, and it was there that they were able to restore the lost art. It was a joyful day for the whole clan. Everyone celebrated, but the happiness did not last long. The man reveals that this secret room was located within the Ma family estate, and that Ma Yonhuk, the head of the Ma estate, had claimed the rights to the lightning sword. Cheon Muguang reportedly refused, but Ma Yonghuk asked for a decision from the rulers of Yunnan, the Diankang sect, one of the 9 great sects. The man reports that at the time, they believed that the leader of Dianzang would never accept such a ridiculous claim. It is reported that Dianzang supported the Ma family estate, and Ma Yonhuk's son was the favorite disciple of the Dianzang sect master. The man reveals that Diankang pressured them into handing over the lightning sword to the Ma family, and explains that as a last resort, he turned to the alliance for help. The man reports that not a single member has expressed a desire to meet with him. He explains that the alliance leader, known as the most righteous, has not shown up, and he was never able to meet with the elders. When Jin returned to the Cheon estate, there was nothing left of him. He reported that mysterious assailants had robbed their family, and Cheon Muguang was the only survivor. The man reports that his family was slaughtered. Muguang said that they took his daughter and threatened to kill her if they resisted. The man says that they decided to take revenge, and while they were looking for a solution, apostates from a bloody cult appeared before them. The man explains that they chose the most horrific path to revenge, despite knowing that the blood cult is the enemy of all of Murim. Jin stands with his hands clasped, watching the scene unfold. He says the Muquan massacre was aimed at revenge against Yangqiang, and the cult was monitoring events happening in Yunnan. The man says that events unfolded exactly this way, and that they followed their predictions perfectly. The man says he didn't expect all the martial artists to be herded in there. He explains that it was just an excuse, and his revenge has created more people like him. The old man asks to kill him in the same way as he killed the elders of the interlocutor. The girl says no, and the guy calls his grandfather. Jin says he doesn't understand why such an important person is hiding here. The man says his only goal was revenge, but Muguang seems to have new dreams and he can no longer be around, influence, or stop him. Jin says that's why he's raising Miao's children and asks if this is an attempt at repentance. He says he can't repent if he took so many lives. The man says he just couldn't do it anymore. Jin says he couldn't and laughs. He says that because of someone else, they had to live in difficult conditions. Another man explains that he can't leave his sect because the elders accepted him as an orphan. Jin says that since he is a member of a bloody cult, he must live like them and asks what happened to him. The man says he knows it's funny. He says he told Zhu Tegging of Dianzong that he belonged to the Bizong sect, and he asked where it was. The man explains that he told him about the Muquan massacre and wanted to see regret on his face. Jin says he mocked his mentor and tried to kill him, while the demonic head of the blood cult wants to give his life in repentance. He says it's unfair and expresses dissatisfaction, saying that the other person must be joking. The man says that if he kills Jin, he will only increase the number of people like him, but Jin suggests simply killing Dokkum and the children. He tells you not to say words you can't handle and to try to repent as much as possible while you're alive. The man tells you to do more good deeds. Jin says he doesn't know much, but his friend says they need knowledge to attack the blood cult and asks him to tell them everything he knows, be it herbs, poison, or the blood cult. The man is silent. A man reports that a man has appeared in the village who can help. The old man explains that this man has the power to change fate. The man states that this is a seal that can be used to confirm authenticity. Jin says that of course it can't compare to the Great Rejuvenation Pill, but it should be on par with the Shaolin Lesser Rejuvenation Pill. The man says that this isn't a confession, but rather that he should consider it as having picked it up on the street. He says he is not that kind of person and does not think that such a thing will appease his anger. Jin says he was complaining about the lack of elixirs earlier. The man informs him that he now has a lesser rejuvenation pill elixir and congratulates him on it. He says, well, and the man suggests dividing it. Jin says that if the external qi exceeds half of his qi, it will cause the flow to deviate. He explains that he needs the qi and that Zheng and the commander need to become stronger to protect him. He thanks her for her help and says he will continue training because elixirs won't help him. He explains that he's stuck at the age of 80 and can't gain any more experience until he achieves enlightenment. The old man says that he has never seen anyone give away their elixir in his life, and asks who they are anyway. Jin says that if you eat this, you'll feel better right away. He says that you just need to eat it. He says there is no need to worry about qi deviation, and asks if there is any special way. The man says that they are about to learn one of the greatest secrets of the bloody cult. The man explains that this is the use of a poison core. Jin says it's a poison core. The old man reports that it's a qi core with very weak traces of poisonous qi. Qi deviation occurs when internal qi collides, so the enemy causes external pressure to stop everything. Jin says why no one knew this until now. The man says that this is one of the greatest secrets of the blood cult, and explains that even if someone dies and the poison core starts to leak, it itself will not go away, and also says that no one will be interested in the poison core of a blood cult member. Jin explains that the reason they couldn't destroy the cult is because its members accumulate qi too easily. He asks, have they really just uncovered the secret? He offers to take the elixir. The man says that Jin has a duel soon, and he agrees. Jin says there's no reason to hesitate now. The man silently covers his mouth with his hand. A man and a child look attentively to the side. The man puts his hand on the child's shoulder. The old man sits nearby and also looks in the same direction. The guy asks what happened to Raccoon, and the man says that Raccoon didn't come back, so Dakan went looking for him this morning. The man says that's how it is. Jin says that he knows the forest well, so there is no need to worry about getting lost. The man says he hopes the raccoon hasn't gone too far. The girl holds the rope and looks ahead. The image shows an explosion in the forest. The image contains no text or speech. It shows a growling beast with yellow eyes. The panther suddenly leaps forward and lands on the ground. The image contains no text or speech. It shows a close-up of a black panther's head with yellow eyes. Jin delivers a powerful blow to the beast, knocking it down, and then calmly approaches the fallen animal. The man says that, as expected of a great demonic general thirsty for blood, he easily defeated such a creature, and also reports that, of course, nothing less could be expected from a demonic general who fought so valiantly in the last campaign. Jin says that he didn't kill the panther, so he can take it with him, since a poisonous panther is quite rare, and says that the blood demon might be interested. He says he didn't know the other one was personally involved in poison-collecting expeditions. The other man says he didn't expect the blood demon to entrust such minor tasks to the demonic general and asks if he's now running errands. The man says he doesn't believe in doubts and asks if the other person wants to go to his trial. The man says he wouldn't dare under any circumstances but was simply worried that Jin might be upset about having to do everything himself. Jin suddenly strikes the man. The man says there's no need for followers who don't submit to the bloody demon. The man and the monk react to what's happening. The man informs the demon general that they have captured the Meow child. The man says his people must be hiding nearby and reports that the child had a bag of incense that repels the undead. The child screams that he lives here alone and there's no one else, blaming the damned monsters. The man silently holds the child in his arms. The man says that the undead don't like poisonous smells, and it's not surprising that they found a way to repel them, but he also finds it rather strange that someone would have such a bag. The guy is screaming, tears are streaming down his face. A man grabs a boy by the throat, and the boy makes a choking sound. The man says, "This is a poor child." The man says to listen to him. The boy makes a sound that expresses pain or fear. The man says there's only one family in the village who can help, explaining that they live deep in the forest. Jin says that if they go there, they can get help. He says that the unleashed undead are just the beginning, and powerful demonic humans will continue to appear. Jin says that it turns out that the previous ones were just prototypes, created to create more powerful undead. The man says this. The old man reveals that this is why he decided to leave Mugwan and explains that the undead are only part of a bigger picture. Grandpa explains that this is what Mugwan is striving for. The girl tells her grandfather that there is a raccoon there and that the raccoon brought some strange people. The man asks, "What?" The old man says he's come to warn them. Jin and the man in red listen in silence. The man says that it is. The man tells them to run and go out the back door. Jin asks who's there. The man reveals that it is Ji Guangguk, a demonic general thirsty for blood, and explains that he has found out how to get here, so they must escape immediately. Ji Guntuk is reported to be a bloodthirsty demonic general who is the head of the Supreme Realm and killed many members of the Orthodox sects during the Great War. The man tells the elder that they have brought Raccoon, and the elder explains that, unfortunately, Raccoon is already under a spell, and if they try to save him, everyone will die. Jin informs that if progress isn't made, the practice will have to be abandoned. The man explains that in that case, the practitioner will have to wait until the energy is restored. The old man says they need to escape with the children. He says he'll buy time. The old man explains that this is madness. Jin says, "No, squad leader." He says that it is not I, but we, and informs that he will stay with them. The man says he finally meets Elder Suk again. The man says he came to pick up the child. A man reports that he noticed something unexpected. A man leaves the house, followed by Jin. Solpan states that he is the commander of the 7th Squad of the 13th Corps of the Soaring Dragon, and asks what faction the interlocutor belongs to. Jin asks about the Soaring Dragon Corps. The man reveals that he is Ji Guangguk of the Blood Cult, also known as the Blood Demon Cult. He says he has business with the local elder. The man asks if they want to stop him. The man says that he has heard about the merits of Ji Guangguk, the great bloodthirsty demonic general, and says that he does not dare to stop him, but he is patrolling the local territory, so he asks not to interfere if he does not want to violate the truce concluded between the Alliance and the Blood. The man says that this is the territory of the Soaring Dragon Corps, but at the same time he says that he doesn't think so. The guy says it's true and orders him to look back. The man asks if it's a hallmark. The man says he heard a sound. The man says he can't see. In the background, a group of people stand and watch. Jin delivers a powerful blow to the man. The man screams and throws a punch. The man says that if he can't win, he will die. Jin throws a series of quick punches at the man, who tries to dodge. He deals a strong blow to the enemy. A man shouts to the general, and another man says they will help. Jin says he's coming. He punches the man in red. The man makes a sound of pain. Jin stabs a man with a sword as he tries to parry the attack. The man shouts that she is a whore and says that they will do this first and then kill her. Jin says that it is necessary to do without killing, to cut off the legs and arms so that the body can be used later, and asks not to touch the face, hoping that there will be no scars. He says he will cut off some things, but the face will remain intact. A man makes a ka sound while fighting another man. Jin reveals that he can only maintain this level of power for 15 minutes, and explains that he needs to finish the fight within that time. He delivers a powerful kick. The image shows the moment of the kick. The man kicks Jin, who dodges the attack. The man in red delivers a powerful punch to the man in light clothing, causing a large explosion and dust emission. Jin laughs and says that the interlocutor is not so simple, and then says that he didn't think that there were such people in the core. The man says he's glad he can kill his interlocutor before he gets stronger. Jin delivers a powerful blow to the man in red clothing. The guy screams and covers himself with his hands, fighting off the blow. Jin says that if he can't protect himself, he won't be able to protect others. The man jumps and strikes with his hands, which glow red, towards Jin, who is standing in a red cloak. The guy delivers a powerful kick to the opponent, who falls to the ground with force. A man lands hard on the ground after a jump. The man looks ahead with concentration, preparing for his next move. The image contains no text or speech. A man delivers a powerful blow, knocking another man in red back. Jin delivers a powerful punch to the man. The man says he can't die because his body is no longer his own. A man delivers a powerful punch to his opponent. The image contains no text or speech. A man in gray clothing stands in a fighting stance, while Jin, dressed in red, runs quickly toward him. The man laughs and says he can't believe he's still alive and calls it incredible. The man says it's an honor to die at his hands. The man states that he cannot afford to lose and explains that if he falls, he will not be able to get up. The man tells the brothers to take them and hide here and not to leave for at least 6 months. The man invites the elder to go with them, and the elder says that he is already old and wants to do as much good as possible in his last days. The man shouts to the elder, and the elder says that everything will be fine with him and orders him to go. A man kneels down by the bed. Jin says he didn't think he would use demonic arts again. The man explains that this is especially true since he previously sealed it with medicine. He says that the demonic energy coursing through his body interferes with his mind, causing new impulses. Jin says this body doesn't have much time left anyway, so he'll have some fun at the end. He touches another person's shoulder. The man says that Dakan is still here and expresses surprise. The man reacts with amazement. The man says that if they can't get through, they'll have to turn back. Jin says they should try. The man explains that the forest is full of traps and warns that if anyone falls, they'll die. Jin says he knows how to avoid the traps and offers to follow him. The man. He strikes his opponent with his sword. Jin takes the sword in his hand. The man laughs and says that Jin has luscious thighs and then asks to show his breasts. Jin silently lowers his gaze. The man delivers a powerful punch to Jin. Jin pushes off the ground violently and then delivers a powerful punch, causing a massive explosion and destruction around him. He says that Solpan has been fighting for a long time and wonders how he can even stand up to a top-level master. Jin says that if he makes a mistake, he will fall into the clutches of these animals and their situation is not going well. He says that if, Jin says questioningly, he says that he will look at it himself now. Jin takes the sword in his hand. Jin strikes with the sword, creating a powerful energy swing. The man says he doesn't understand what's happening. The man says something, then Jin says one word, "What?" Jin strikes, tearing the man apart. A man says she's a whore, and another man says she was hiding her skills. 3 men attack Jin at the same time, shouting that they will attack at the same time and ordering them to cut off her arms and knock her down. The man jumps with his weapon raised, preparing to strike Jin. At the top right, a man throws a punch that causes a flash. Jin stands in the center, watching the action. A figure with a purple glow appears behind Jin to the left. At the bottom right, a bare-headed man looks at Jin. He says curse and the man shouts guys. Jin says that he is not going to give up and that his strength will grow. He says that he is not afraid and that his soul belongs to the water. Jin says they'll chop up too. He says that right now, when his ki is almost reaching the energy accumulated over almost 60 years, he can test something. Jin tells the names of the techniques, 13 men of Sona and Bird soaring over the horizon. The man screams, "What is happening, and how is this possible?" Jin delivers a powerful blow with his sword, creating a bright trail of light and striking the man, who is thrown back. He says that everything turned out to be easier than he thought, even though he was using the skill for the first time. Jin speaks now. He strikes a man with a sword, who parries it with his weapon, and a man in dark clothes with a sword approaches them. The man says, "Damn," and Jin reacts to it. The man jerks back as a sharp blade passes through the air near him. Jin says he hopes he didn't interrupt. The woman says she was only glad he intervened. He says he wants to know what the two are doing there and asks for help. A man with long dark blue hair watches what's happening. Jin says Ji Guangkuk. A man with a sword stands next to a body on the ground. The guy in blue says his name is Ji Guangkuk. A man screams. A man looks up. Jin delivers a powerful blow, accompanied by bright energy and an explosion. A man with a tense expression attacks another man, emitting bright red-violet energy. A man with a purple aura delivers a powerful punch, causing an explosion and a bright flash of light, causing the other man to fly back. The man says he can't die because he is immortal. The man says he knew it was Elder Sok in front of him. The man says it's him and asks how Mguang is. Jin reports that the blood demon is fine and explains that he tells them that if the man hadn't left, the blood cult's plans for world domination would have accelerated by 10 years. The man reports that the cult has restored his research, even though he destroyed it, and calls the blood demon amazing. Jin says that if he ever meets Elder Siak, the man orders the enemy to be sent to the afterlife and to prepare for death. The man laughs and says goodbye to Elder Sok. The man reports that his key reserves are enough for about 90 years, but Jin screams, "Ha!" and delivers a powerful blow, accompanied by a bright flash of energy and an explosion. The man expresses surprise. The man delivers a powerful punch, causing a shockwave that hits Jin. The man says it appears that the other person has taken the bloody pill of madness. Jin explains that the pill temporarily increases strength by activating true ki, but afterward, severe side effects set in. He says that for him, this pill would be poison, considering that even orthodox martial artists with pure ki can't always tolerate the side effects. The man says that it is now clear what he is up to, and he laughs. A man delivers a powerful blow to another man, accompanied by a splash of blood and the sound of impact. The man says he can't let Jin leave and warns him that if he tries to escape, he will kill him. Jin says he doesn't intend to run away but wants to talk. The man explains that he doesn't believe Jin's words and intends to destroy him. A man screams in pain as he lands a powerful punch to his stomach. The man says he can't die. The man yells to go away, and Jin lets out a scream of "Ah!" The man screams in pain. He laughs. A voice says goodbye. Jin shouts, "Elder Siok." He grabs another person by the hand. The man says he can't believe it happened. Jin says his name. He says he's in pain. Jin screams for his opponent to die while simultaneously plunging his hand into his chest. The man says he can't die because he is immortal. The man says he can't afford to die here because he has a family he needs to protect. The man lets out a piercing scream and squeezes his other hand with force. The image shows a hand squeezing or pressing on a surface or body without text or speech. The man says it's a damn old man. The voice says that if he dies, he will take the other with him. The image shows a powerful explosion with flying debris and smoke. There are no lines or characters. Jin says that if he doesn't kill this guy, he will die himself. He says that they should attack Ji Guangkuk together, since even with the bloody madness pill, it is difficult to win. The old man says that he will gather his strength and try to destroy him, and Jin says that at that moment he must make sure that Solpan and Chungyeon retreat. He says it's suicide and asks why he's doing this if he's a former member of a demonic cult. The man says he's talked about this before and just felt it. Jin and the man walk along a path surrounded by thick fog and falling leaves. A man shouts and swears at an old man. Jin says it's protective chi and reports that he has covered his entire body with it. The man vomits blood and leans on his knee, holding his stomach. Jin exclaims, "The man says that here is the chance." He says that this is the last chance given at the cost of human life. The man screams, "Ha-ah-ah," and delivers a powerful blow to Jin, who responds with a cough. A man receives a strong blow to the chest. The image shows a high-force impact or collision accompanied by a sound effect. The man shouts that his interlocutor can go to hell. Jin delivers a powerful blow to the man. The man suddenly leans his hand on the ground. The man makes a sound of effort or pain. A man delivers a powerful punch to another man's head, causing a violent explosive effect. Jin says yes and asks the captain to finish with him. The man slams his fist into the ground, causing an explosion and a shower of rocks. He looks forward with blazing eyes and raises his hand, preparing to retaliate. A large bloodstain appears on the ground from the impact. Jin speaks to the captain. The captain holds his mouth with his hand, from which blood is flowing, and he says that the squad leader was able to match Ji Guanyuk thanks to his secret techniques, but the time limit of about 15 minutes set strict limits. Jin says it's over, but then reveals that, judging by the amount of blood, it looks like he forced himself to continue even after the time limit was up. The man laughs. Jin says not to worry, as his friends will follow him. He says that the situation is dire and hopeless, and only a commander who has reached the pinnacle of the heavenly realm could compete with Ji Guangguku, while others won't even be able to break through the protective chi. Jin says that if they had another fighter who reached the same level, he says that's exactly it. Jin says Ji Guangguk. Jin jumps with energy around him. The man says it's useless to try to move him. Jin laughs. Jin strikes his opponent, raising dust and debris. The man says A, B. Jin dodges an attack from a man who rushes towards him. The man says that the devil. Jin strikes, saying that the opponents can do it. The panther leaps forward, surrounded by glowing pink lines and fragments. A man makes a sound of surprise. The image depicts the beast leaping down from above, with its mouth open and its paws raised, preparing to attack. The man stands with his back to the beast, oblivious to the attack.